You're up and it's still dark. Kick back with a cup of joe. You know you've got friends waiting on 1620 The Zone. It's Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike. Listen on the radio stream or YouTube or podcasts. Anytime it feels right. It's Happer and Schaefer. Happer and Schaefer.
All right, good morning and welcome in. Happy Friday. It's Happer and Schaefer here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, the Zone Radio Network. Connor Happer, Joey Colbert, Mike Schaefer, still in Houston. Good morning, Mike Schaefer.
Good morning.
How's everything this morning?
Well, I mean, the morning only started a handful of minutes ago, but it's mostly fine. We moved on to baseball season. Chase DeLauder is the center of the universe, it appears, in the sporting world for me today, and nothing else possibly happened last night.
Well, that's what a texter writes in from the 515, which is interestingly enough an Iowa area code. It says, this whole Sweet 16 week was just reduced to another Iowa game. This week should have been exciting with Nebraska playing with house money, but it wasn't. All the BS that you guys spewed all week was exactly that, BS. On to baseball. There you go. On to baseball.
Quit watching sports. Just if you can't handle losing ever, just don't put yourself in a situation where you can be emotionally invested. Like I don't know what to tell people. Like this is what sports, this is what you do. This is how this works. If you cared at all, if this thing emotionally connected to you with Nebraska basketball, but now today you're listening to us, or you listened to us yesterday, or you went to bed last night and you're just like, oh, Iowa, whatever. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, because I wouldn't trade the past season for anything. I don't know why you would. Like Nebraska made the Sweet 16. Read your dumb text again, guy from Iowa who unfortunately lives in Iowa. I feel bad about that. Well, maybe he doesn't live in Iowa. Maybe he's just from Iowa and he, doesn't want to be from Iowa anymore. Who knows? I can't talk to specific circumstances. But man, if your first thought is Iowa owns us, I don't know. First thought or whatever. But if that's your defining thought of the season, I can't do anything for you, because what happened this year was amazing. And if you can't take that at face value, I don't know what you want out of sports. I really don't.
Well, what we're referencing, of course, is I don't know if you could tell, the season ended last night for Nebraska basketball.
It did.
In dramatic fashion, 77-71 to Iowa, who will move on to play Illinois in the Elite Eight for a chance to go to the Final Four. Illinois beat Houston last night, really handled him basically mostly the entire game, kind of just kept him at arm's length and never allowed him to make that run. So it'll be Illinois and Iowa for a chance to go to the Final Four, which is kind of crazy. I mean, Iowa's going for border supremacy, I suppose, against all of its state neighbors. That throw in like Minnesota and Wisconsin and a bunch of other states, and Iowa's going to take them all down, I suppose.
I mean, if they shoot like they did last night, they're relatively difficult to get a handle on. I mean, so there's that. Like they played really well. There's from the most basic analysis standpoint, you get guys that shoot like that. Sturt still plays how he does. You have four guys in double figures. I mean, that's going to be the from the basketball side of this. They had more guys show up than Nebraska did, especially late, and that turned the tide. And they withstood a barrage. I mean, Nebraska threw everything they had at them in the first half. In a lot of ways, this feels like the Michigan game without the officiating. And a team, Nebraska played an outstanding first half and only led by one possession at the end of it. and then couldn't finish the game off despite leading most of the second half.
Yeah.
That's just sort of what it was.
Yeah, so we'll dive into it. I mean, Nebraska had a lot of chances to knock them out and never did so. And Iowa just kept punching back, and Nebraska would get right back to that breaking point again and couldn't finish them off. And by that point, you're thinking, what's going to happen? And sure enough, it gets close. So Iowa, like you said, made 13 threes last night, 13 out of 30, which is 43%. I thought Iowa could win a Nebraska game going into it just because of how those two teams have played over the last couple of weeks, and I thought they generally did, so anyway, let's step aside real quick and sort of think about or set up the show quickly here. We'll have Josh Peterson join us from the room next to Mike Schaefer, live from
Are they done potting?
I don't know. I did see it on the podcast feed, so I assume it got posted. It's all done and posted. What are your guys' travel plans? What are you guys doing today?
Yeah, so we were relatively fortunate, I guess, if you would. I mean, we'll see how fortunate when immediately after the show we just go to the airport for a 7-hour TSA wait. But we got a 4:40 direct flight back to Omaha.
Okay.
Today. And so in theory, around 7 p.m. we could be in Omaha, and the entire Houston experience is fully over. Kevin Suits has been going through. The great thing about Kevin Suits, you get thoughts from the road and you get TSA updates every step along the way. So he's been going through it this morning. It'll be different certainly during the day, but I'll be curious looking at their website what the alleged wait times are.
Do we get what does it tell you on there like over the last couple of days? I mean, because they've been 3, 4, and 5 hour lines. Yeah. Like, is it saying like 45 to an hour or something?
No, they've just started saying expect over 4-hour delays, or expect 4 hours to clear TSA, more or less.
Holy,
should we expect the updates from you as you're waiting to get past them?
I mean, potentially. At that point, I just need to make sure my phone battery lasts, because once I get through, it's still several more hours until the flight, but I guess you can find somewhere to charge it. So we'll see how that all goes today. We were very fortunate that last night on our walk out of the stadium and through the second ward, as we were kind of venturing towards the third ward, we found a gas station where we waited an inordinately long amount of time to get our lift to pick us up. And at that time, Josh was able to find the flight, and we got lucky.
Okay, well, that's the plan anyway. So Josh will join us coming up at 7:30 today, presented by Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill. That's part of the reason how Josh is down there right now, covering the tournament over this week. Jake Sorensen is due to join us at 9:20 today.
Are we sure he's going to make it?
I haven't made contact with Jake. I just felt like last night it would have been inappropriate if I had reached out at all.
I watched his video last night.
Same thing goes for basically anybody who's like a staunch, diehard Nebraska basketball fan. Like I wasn't reaching out last night. Not the right guy with the information. Not the right guy to be. You
didn't even text me. I was offended.
Yeah, no.
I'm a little worried about Austin Jacobson, because he said if Iowa beats Nebraska, he is gonna make the trek from Sydney, Nebraska to Sydney, Iowa.
Yeah, so, and then he faked being hacked, which was incredible. he came out and he's like, "Yeah, have you checked out my new car? I got it all with crypto." It's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff from him.
Well done, Austin.
We will see if he indeed walks the several 100-mile trek, which I sort of doubt, but we will find out. So that is our lineup today. But mostly, we want to hear from you. 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number. You could tweet at HappenSchafe, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer on the Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed. Once again, that's the Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed. Email Connor, Mike at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to our YouTube streamers today. A lot of you out there for a variety of different reasons, and we look forward to hearing all angles and all sorts of different conversations today. So with that being said, I mean, we have about as open of a show as we've ever had. We're going to talk about this game last night. Obviously, we have our city of the day coming up in just a little while. Joey's headlines and things like that. So we'll get into
Friday
it.
shout-outs.
Friday shout-outs.
yeah.
I forgot about Friday shout-outs. Please get in your Friday shout-outs if you're tuning in with us early here. 402-951-1620, or the best way to do it is at Happen Schaefer and do hashtag Friday shout-outs. We will do that at 8:45 this morning. So if you want to shout out anything, feel free. We will keep them. Good call, Mike Schaefer. So outside of that, we're pretty open. Let's dive into things and whatever you think the angles are, whatever it might be, as Nebraska ends their season last night in Houston against the Iowa Hawkeyes of all teams. We will dive into the game, what it means, what it looks like going forward, and all those different things. Happy you're along with us, but we'll be back after this on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Enter McMaster's matchup for your shot to win $250 without even swinging a club. We will randomly select 20 entrants and match each one of those 20 with a pro golfer for an upcoming large golf tournament that you may or may not know about. And if your golfer wins, bang, you get $250. It's that easy. McMaster's matchup. Sign up to be in the drawing to get a golfer right now. 1620thezone.com. You could do that through April 5th. All right. So let's go through the bones of it first. The rundown of sort of I guess the end of the game. I think you start with the end, and then there's big picture stuff. Like I said, I think Nebraska had a couple different chances to maybe put Iowa away. And really through no fault of their own, Iowa just kind of kept on swinging, and hung around long enough to ultimately climb the mountain at the end. It felt like it was just forever until they actually tied the game. And that's basically how we spent the last 6 minutes or so, six and a half minutes, tied or right around tied. And so I'll start the proceedings at the right about the 2 minute mark when Bennett Sturtz, Iowa's, everything player, knocked down a three, a long one, kind of, if I remember right, kind of a late shot clock situation too. And he was a few feet beyond the 3-point line, sort of rainbowed it in. Iowa takes the lead at 68-65. Rink Mass comes back and misses a 3-pointer. Iowa grabs the rebound. They're getting all over Nebraska at this point. The Sage guy comes in, the Sage guy, Tate Sage for Iowa. He knocks down a three on the other side. And you're like, oh, man, at this point, there's 1 minute and 18 seconds left. Then Sanford misses a three. Offensive rebound by Frager, scoots his way back to the line, knocks down a 3-pointer for the corner. Nebraska gets a timeout right after that. At that point, there's 58 seconds left, and then we start to have fun. So, I mean, I think you got to start here, Schaefer. Would you agree that this is, I don't know if it's like the thing that lost Nebraska the game, but it is at least one of the memorable things from the game, having 4 people on the court. Schaefer, we can't hear you. Sorry.
You're good. The crazy thing at the game is you wouldn't have really been able to tell. It all just happened so instantaneously. And then there's no explanation for what sort of occurred. There's a foul, so there's another dead ball. So then whoever it was that wasn't on the court, obviously what I'm talking about here, Nebraska only had 4 on the court for an inbounds. They just threw a deep outlet to
Fulgaris.
Fulgaris, yeah. I wasn't going to get that right on the first try. And so Fulgaris, takes it down in. Barricade goes for the block. He ends up making a sort of a dunk layup thing. They get fouled. And so right then you're back to it being a 5, then 6-point game. And like I said, from live or from the arena, you would have had almost no idea what occurred because it was so instantaneous as it happened. And so then the texts and the tweets and the everything start pouring in, and it's like they only had 4 guys on the court. So who was missing? Have you gone back and Zapruder filmed this?
It was masked. And so what happened was as this is all playing out, and they throw the line. Credit Iowa because they saw it right away, and I think Sturtz on a replay I saw Sturtz was really pointing out Fulgaris and trying to sort of speed the process up a little bit, get the ball and throw the outlet down deep, and nobody knew how it happened. I just thought it was a blown defensive assignment, and
that's
then
what I thought too.
They showed the replay one time, and Stan Van Gundy, of all people, Stan Van Gundy was like, "Oh my God, I think they only had 4 on. They only had 4 players on the floor." And sure enough, they went back and counted, and you could see Mast came down way late for whatever reason. I still don't know how, and I don't know. I mean, will we ever get an answer? I'm not sure.
Probably not.
Because Fred last night was just like, "Yeah, it's on me," whatever. I think part of that is probably just to sort of suppress and move on from the entire thing. And once again, I don't think it exactly cost Nebraska the game, but it is the kind of thing that you just you just remember like it is a
it encapsulates the loss. Like, I mean,
it is the marquee of the game, I think. And so Mast was coming down, and keep in mind this is after a timeout, and so I'm thinking,
and what? You cut it to 3, so you get a defensive stop and a rebound there. It's a 1-possession game, and
they have those they have the white dry erase boards where they put everybody's matchup on there. They write like RM whatever and BF whatever number they're supposed to be guarding. And everybody was on there, nobody was doubled up or anything like that. Like I saw the screenshot of that was going around. For whatever reason, maybe Rink went to go get a drink or something like that, and he came down way late. And by the time the ball was in Fulgaris's hands, Rink was like at the table, like he was checking in, which I don't know why he was going that way. He could have just walked onto the floor. He was the 5th player who was supposed to be out there at that point. And that brings up a variety of different questions. Obviously, number one, how did it happen? Could it have been stopped? Should it have been stopped? There's a lot of people talking about the officials and if that needs to be stopped in that scenario. I've seen it stopped before.
My guess is the officials noticed nothing in the same way that anybody else did until it finally happened. But
the official they're supposed to count, and if they count to 6, then obviously things get stopped and they administratively move everything. If it's 4, then you don't there's no rule that says, all right, well, we have to make sure there's 5. It would be more of hey, let me just hold the ball for 1 more second and not give it to the inbounder and make sure that we don't go. And maybe they didn't count. Maybe a different official counted and he wasn't able to relay the message. Either way, the play did not get stopped, and it was under no obligation to do so. It would be a courtesy. It was under no obligation to do so. And sure enough, they found him right away, and he scored and dunked and got an and one.
So I just had an anonymous caller that mentioned that there was a violation by Iowa that was missed. The guy inbounding the basketball stepped on the line. I don't know if I saw that, but did you guys see an Iowa player step on the line
on that particular one?
Yeah, on that particular play.
I didn't notice, but I wasn't looking for it.
I mean, it's entirely possible. I think that in the run of play, not off a dead ball, in the run of play, the amount of times guys inbound the ball without actually being out of bounds entirely happens a ton. I don't think it's something that officials probably look for, not to make excuses for them, but I wouldn't be that surprised. I wouldn't be that surprised that it got missed either.
Okay, so I'm watching it right now. No, I mean, absolutely not. He was not. He did not step on the line, even close to stepping on the line. He didn't even move his feet when Combs tossed in the inbound. And so on this we should probably just grab this and put it, although we probably get copyright stricken if we put it up on YouTube. But
don't do that.
Yeah, Rink is coming down, and it's hard to tell. Yeah, he was. So after the timeout, it looks like Rink sat down on the bench. And so when the 52-second clip starts, when the clip that March Madness clipped, I can go back and watch the whole thing. He is standing up, like Rink Mast is in the process of standing up, and then he moves his way down the line. So you're right. Like if Mast had been up and near the table, and like if that process had been sped up like 3 seconds earlier for Mast to get closer to where he's trying to go, then the ref probably stops it. But at this point, he doesn't notice it. Frager is also standing up out of the timeout off of the bench, and he just kind of turns around and watches the whole thing. He was not supposed to be in the game. It was very clearly Mast who made the mistake, and he came down and wasn't able to get into the game on time.
I mean, it's just a very, very stupid thing to happen at the end of a game. Something you would never expect to see. Probably something we won't see again, in a long time. And so it's really unfortunate. I guess there's a part of me that's like, they were already sort of down 3 and fighting uphill and in a really weird spot where for them to extend that game, they're going to have to like foul 4 times to,
Yeah, they were definitely in
so
bad shape at that point, but they had just got.
but they made it worse, and you're
Yes.
coming out of a timeout, like so. It's and
Yes.
obviously you need to be coming out of a dead ball to only have 4 guys on the court on an inbound, but so it's certainly a big moment in that game. It's weird though, because if I was just going through stuff, I don't even know if it's in the top 5 of things that I would
really?
think about. Yeah. I mean, I just
I mean, like I don't. It's the number one.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I totally understand why it would be. I guess in my brain, it's probably certainly contributed to the loss. It's not the thing that I'm going to probably think about coming out of this game as it relates to any individual play or moment or anything like that. For me personally, a lot of that would be the Price Sanford. You're up 5. You're at midcourt. Whatever happens where he just ends up knocked over, the ball gets kicked all the way down the court. Like that sequence, like that's where it felt like Nebraska had an opportunity to take advantage of that game. Is what, 5 minutes left? You're getting stopped. Iowa hadn't scored for a little bit. And then I don't know that Nebraska scored much after that point.
Nebraska did not score from 6:15 remaining in the game until the Frager 3 with 58 seconds left. Right.
Yeah.
Right before the timeout. So they went 5 minutes, 5 out of the final 6 minutes of the game, basically without scoring.
Yeah. And, they had a lot of tired legs. And I don't know how many segments we're devoting to this and where we want to take everything. But those last 6 minutes, like you could just see, my angle was pretty good of Nebraska's offensive possessions. And you could just see those shots weren't even, like, they weren't threatening in a lot of ways. I think Sam maybe had one that was a little bit better. But Master was just off shooting all night. Particularly after that tweet that I had sent the day before, which I suspect affected everything. He didn't have it. And then you would see him go up and you just knew his left is going to be long. Like you could just tell, like there was just not there. And so many possessions where they needed someone that wasn't Sanford to put the ball in the hoop, and they could not do it down crunch time. And Iowa just continued to attack, and they didn't have like this amazing second half offensively, but they hit shots when they needed to late, and Nebraska just couldn't match it.
Somebody just sent me a screenshot on the text line from the 402 of the Combs who inbounded the ball, who was over the line. But whoever just sent this text in, this is like the ball is at least halfway down the court already. You could see. I don't know what kind of screenshot was going around Twitter last night, because I had never heard this argument or this thought whatsoever. But
I
don't know
anything about this.
If you gave this any sort of critical thinking for like a half a second, you could tell the ball is out of Cale Combs' hand and halfway down the floor, because everyone is looking that direction. And he is not over the line. Just watch the video again. I mean, I don't know what people get fooled by stuff that happens on social media. So it's possible that screenshot was going around and you could see him. He's definitely over the line, but the ball's out of his hand. Just watch the video. It'll take you 0.4 seconds to figure that out. So that's definitely not a thing. We'll go ahead and nip that one in the bud already this morning. But yeah, I mean, while you said Schaefer, I think I want to make this segment, just about that, just about the 4 guys on the floor. Like, while you said that it's certainly not the defining, moment, or it's not the reason they lost. Certainly, it is. I would have liked to see what would have happened on that defensive possession for Nebraska.
Absolutely. Like I don't want to minimize it either.
But it will be the thing. It will be the thing from this game. Now, it won't be the thing from the season. Like,
sure.
I saw the conversation going on last night with people who are like, man, you can't let this or like, I can't let this define the season. But like, no, this is not, if you're a Nebraska fan, this is not what you are remembering from this season, not even remotely close. You won't even talk about who eliminated you. You'll just say, we went to the Sweet 16, and that's great. That's how you remember the season. The season was like 1,000 times more good than it was bad, and it was barely bad, right? You were in the Sweet 16. This is a admittedly really, really, really difficult way to go, and yes, enhanced a little bit by the fact that you were playing Iowa, your biggest rival, just because you have to run into them 2 times a year, every single year in perpetuity forever. But this doesn't spoil the quote unquote season, like your memories of the season, but it will be the lasting legacy of this game. Nebraska's biggest NCAA tournament game of all time ended in a horrific blunder, like that I can't really explain. And I don't know who to blame. I don't know really what to do about it at all. But it is that. I mean, don't like it. It is a horrific blunder. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean it certainly did not. Well, here we'll put it this way: there was 0% chance of winning that game after that happened. I mean, from what you needed, from where you were in the trying to extend the game situation, the fact that your shooters had not shooters, but the fact that most of your players were cold in terms of making shots, like you had to get a stop there. Like that possession ultimately was going to dictate whether you had a chance of winning that game. I think Nebraska's win probability was fairly low still, even going into just that possession. But it was, you at least had the opportunity that if you get a stop, something that they had done more of in the second half, and they rebounded, that you were going to have the chance to at least tie the game. I'm checking the win probability.
I am checking the win probability.
It was like as high as like 83 at one.
Yeah,
that's not what I was talking about.
I was just looking at after Nebraska,
the Frager 3.
After the Frager 3.
Okay,
right. Iowa is still very, very high. Let's see here, 70. What am I looking for? 71-68. That was the number.
Yeah.
82.4% for Iowa at that point, according to KenPom.
And so, like, that's not to say that it diminishes the blunder. It's just to say, like, you know, it's worse if it's a tie game. It's worse in these other scenarios. Nebraska was in an uphill battle. And, you know, again, they could have gotten a stop. They would have had the opportunity for a basket. At that point, you still have to probably go for a 3 because you're so many fouls away, which is its own kind of crazy conversation about the first half and the second half. I mean, at the under minute, there was probably 4 total fouls in the second half, I think. So, you know, it would have been a really fascinating game strategy to see how you could have done things if you get the stop. But ultimately, 4 men on the court, the heave, they had no chance.
Well, I also think how you handle a situation like that is really, really important too. And we haven't seen any in-house locker room video yet. Obviously, the Nebraska players were pretty distraught in the locker room with the media afterwards during their mandatory, open locker room thing. And Fred took full and complete responsibility. Like I said, I still feel like I need more information on just how, what sort. He said breakdown in communication, and I'm like, okay, well, where did it break? What, who broke what? And basically, I'm looking for someone to point at and say, man, who screwed up badly here in order for that to happen. Like you said, Schaefer, Nebraska is going to have a climb to get over, and at this point, the momentum is all pointed in the other direction. But when a play like this happens in a game of that significance, it is, we're going to.
You want to know the mechanics of how, why, who?
Yeah, I would like to dissect it.
Yeah,
I would like to dissect it, and it's I just feel like we're missing some information. Like I could use probably 6 or 7 more angles of sort of the bench and the reaction to everything. And if it is just as simple as, well, I mean, it was just a lapse in judgment. Like I sat down because I was just, I'm Rick Mast. I sat down after the timeout because that's what I do. And, we were playing defense, and whatever happened, then that's it. If it was something else, as far as who was supposed to be on the floor in a defensive scenario with 58 seconds left in the game, then I'm not sure. But that will haunt people for a long, long time, and it will be the thing. Like I hate to say this, but it will be the thing that other fan bases will just sort of take jabs at for a long time. there'll be a lot of like 4 guys, that type of thing, which I've already seen a lot.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't know. I like some of it is your season's over. You'll go into next year. I have no idea what the longevity of this thing will be. Maybe the Creighton student section next year, when Alan Huss loses his debut to Nebraska, will have just 4 guys signed everywhere. But it's going to be a different team. Like it's a different season. It's one of those things where I guess for me, like I said, I don't. Part of it is just in the arena. It was so fast, and I have no recollection of seeing it as it played out. I think it's probably going to live on more, I guess, maybe for people that watched it on television. I was talking to Josh Peterson on this when we were walking out.
You guys didn't know it happened at all?
No, and Jack Mitchell said the same thing. Like in the arena, like it's just hard to, part of it is, and maybe this is why it does live on. You just never expect to see anything like that happen, or you wouldn't expect certainly to only have 4 guys on the court. So, my vantage point of it and sort of my personal viewpoint of it is so different than I think a lot of the people that would have experienced it on television. So again, I don't mean to minimize it, but it's just like I said, for me personally, it's definitely not the dagger of the game. That seemed to have come earlier, but it certainly prevented any opportunity of Nebraska winning. So I guess in some ways, maybe it is a dagger because there was no coming back from it.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, and then you add on the foul and the animal. Like, it's one thing to only have the 4 guys on the floor, but then for Iowa to actually make the play, and Fulgaris somehow made that after Berke kind of recovered and got in a pretty decent position to be able to block it, and he makes the N1 and gets the free throw to go on top of it, and then the next possession, Nebraska had what? I'm gonna look. I think it was at least 6 shots.
That might be the saddest thing to witness. Is like just the desperation heaves and nobody's making anything, and it's just like horrifying to basically go through that whole sequence.
Yeah. So let's see here. After the Fulgaris and one made free throw. Okay, Nebraska subbed a lot. They came back and got another dunk. How'd they get the ball? Oh, Sanford missed a 3 that he forced up. And then the next possession after, it's already done by this point. They had the possession where Mast missed a 3, Kale missed a 3, Sanford missed a 3, and Berke missed a 3. And then they finally got the rebound and Hoiberg fouled him, and that was sort of it. So I guess it was only 4, but it seemed like 7. And it seemed
you
like
could have told me it was 14, and I would have believed it. And like everybody got to shoot almost 3 times.
I know. That's what it felt like. We'll get into it from a big picture perspective coming up at the 7 o'clock hour. I want to hear from you guys. 402-951-1620. We will be back, though, coming up next with our city of the day. Schaefer, I don't even think you know our city of the day yet.
No, I haven't looked at the rundown.
Well, I'm excited to show you. You don't even have to know.
You'll find out once you get the break screen.
Yeah. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone.
We learned this city. We learned this city on Happer. Schaefer learned this city. We learned this city on Happer. Schaefer.
It's time to learn another city, a city that some people might know very, very, very well. Our city of the day today is Champaign, Illinois, home of a team that is going to the Elite Eight and just might well go to the Final Four. A team that I did not believe in all year long. I did get some tweets last night that was like that said, remember how Connors just not believed in Illinois all year long? I was like, yeah, I guess that is true. I did not think that they would make this run in the NCAA tournament. I will say I've not really watched them. I feel like I've watched every game, and I feel like for whatever reason, Illinois has just kind of gone way to the back burner for me on this run that they've been on so far until last night when they were really impressive against Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any of that game last night, so I was like sort of following the score in disbelief. I think at one point it was something like 42-26, and they were there. How many points did Houston have at half?
22. It was 24-22 at the half. Illinois was up by 8, and
but
Houston
with like
a
a minute or two left, it was like 12. I mean, it was really bad there for a minute, which I mean, I didn't see that coming from Houston's offense, which has been a little bit more touch and go this year than it usually has been. Just quickly, Schaefer, and I'm genuinely asking this: does it make it worse that it's Illinois instead of Houston, who we thought it was a terrible matchup for Nebraska?
Yes. That I would think would be plainly obvious.
Okay, I just
makes it worse. Well, no, it's certainly a fair question to ask, but I don't know that there's an argument that I could understand that that it's similar to the Florida-Iowa thing. Like, I know there's a completely different connotation around Iowa and Illinois, but again, that's a team that you've already beaten, a team that, it took a tremendous second half for them to beat Nebraska in Lincoln. Would have clearly loved to see a third matchup between those two teams. And that arena would have been fascinating because there was a good amount of Illinois fans. There were significantly more Nebraska fans, and obviously the most that you saw of anything was Houston. And they were supremely confident going into that game. Like, I don't think there was a lot of respect for any of the Big 12 teams. This one guy asked me if one of the more hilarious moments that I could imagine, asked me early in the first half with Nebraska and Iowa if they play defense in the Big 10. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, the two teams on the court generally are regarded as very good defensive teams.
You poked your head in at an interesting moment here.
Yeah. And I was like, I totally understand why you would think this, but that team in white is a top 10 defense, and that team in black, I'm pretty sure, is a top 20 defense. And I mean, so I am a little bit stunned by that. It was a weird night of games, right? Because the first two were pretty entertaining throughout. Though I will say, whenever we got the live look-ins of Texas Purdue, they were at the monitor. They must have been at the monitor 20 times.
The Nebraska game literally finished before it, and it started. It started 20 minutes later. I mean, so that was ridiculous. Okay, let's quickly get to Champaign. So Champaign, with its twin sister city, Urbana, or I've always called it Urbana. I've heard people say Urbana. I believe
I've heard Urbana.
I went there one time and stayed with a friend in college. I think they all said Urbana, so I think it's Champaign Urbana, but really Champaign, I guess, is what we're going with here. Of course, the
Kevin Stooge, maybe he's listening. We can check in on the correct pronunciation.
If you're somewhere in the TSA line,
he's through it. He
all
made
right.
it through.
That's good. That's good. Did you know that Bob Dylan has a song called Champaign, Illinois?
No, I did not.
I did not know that.
I'm not like completely up on the entire catalog of Bob Dylan, but I certainly did not know that he wrote a song about one of the worst Big Ten towns out there.
And then the old 97s took another Bob Dylan song, Desolation Row, and combined its melody with new lyrics to make a new song, Champaign, Illinois, which they released with Dylan's blessing on their 2010 album, The Grand Theater Volume 1.
Desolation and Champagne seem like it should go together. So I support that mashup for sure.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so population of just Champaign is estimated at 2024 at 91,961. Now, the Champaign-Urbana metropolitan area population estimated 2023 235,608. Now, I'm reading for the Wikipedia page. You stop me if this feels incorrect or if you've ever heard this before. Journalists frequently treat the metropolitan area as just one city. For example, in 1998, Newsweek included the Champaign-Urbana metropolitan area in its list of the top 10 tech cities outside of Silicon Valley. Champaign-Urbana also ranked as 10th out of the top 25 green cities in the United States. 2007 survey made by Country Home Magazine. So the Silicon Prairie is actually in Champaign-Urbana. This is weird. I've never heard this.
Yeah, I've never heard this at all either. But I to be honest, outside of people that have went to Illinois, I've never heard anyone talk about Champaign other than that one time the Hammond Bears prior to when Soldier Field was being renovated, when they were the Chicago Bears, they became the Champaign Bears for a little bit. And that's that's honestly the only time Champaign ever comes up is if Nebraska plays there, usually on a Friday night football game. And then you have to figure out which of the hotels you want to stay in. And then, that's it. It is not a discussed Illinois community a whole lot. Now, it might be in Illinois. This is a great question for Matt McMaster because that's where the university is at. But there's just, I don't know. I've been there enough times. And with respect to people that go to college there, I never want to be there. It is not a particularly enjoyable experience.
Quickly, did you run into our boy Jeremy Werner last night?
I saw him on Wednesday when we got here and we went in for a credential check-in, but he was in front of me in the credential line. And then you get into the area and it's just sort of a maze. And I don't know where. I didn't see him in the media workroom. Illinois might have had some. They might have been at their open practice, or they might have had some other stuff going on. So I saw him, but I never got a chance to talk to him. I was planning to talk to him, after yesterday, but then the second half happened, so
didn't work out. Famous people. The list of famous people.
Is he on the list?
So he's not. That would be really funny. He deserves to be. So the band REO Speedwagon was formed in Champaign. I don't know what that means. Formed in Champaign. Also, okay, go ahead. Question.
They might have had multiple people that went to school there. I'll look into this. You continue.
It's possible. Also, at one point, Kamala Harris, presidential nominee and vice president Kamala Harris, lived in Champaign, Illinois. Look at that. We are sticking to sports, but that is a fact.
REO Speedwagon and Kamala Harris.
REO Speedwagon and Kamala Harris. Those are
taking
famous,
on the run, riding the storm out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if Illinois ends up in the Final Four. It'd be some interesting things going on in Champaign.
Couple of the REO Speedwagon guys.
Okay, they're from
the university.
All right, well, there you go. All right, let's take a break. We will come back 7:00 hour after this. Welcome back. Happer and Schaefer here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, the Zone Radio Network. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, and Joey Colbert with you this morning after Nebraska's 77-71 loss last night in the Sweet 16 to Iowa. You know, I've seen a lot of people taking victory laps of like, I told you that we didn't want to play Iowa. I knew it would hurt more. Schaefer sort of did a little bit of a rant earlier on at the start of the show about this. I just can't believe that that's your like, I told you that I would be right about how I feel about when we lose this game to the bitter rival, the deepest run in the NCAA tournament in school history. Like, okay, congratulations. Like, also, who cares? These people are so weird. I don't get I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't share the opinion of it. Like, I mean, if you feel like that wouldn't have been as crushing of a loss leading Florida at halftime and then only having 4 guys on the court, I guess, when Florida inbounded the ball up 3 late, then that's certainly a viewpoint. I don't know. I mean, I was in the arena. There's certainly plenty of Iowa fans there. I heard "Let's go Hawks" yet again at a sporting event, and you know, that is never or was never going to be my takeaway when the season ended. And sure enough, it ended at the hands of Iowa.
Big picture from the game perspective. I mean, we could zoom out even further as we go on throughout the show for what it means and sort of what happens going forward. You know, so we addressed, if you missed it, we talked as much as we could about that mistake that Schaefer just mentioned. We still don't have a lot of answers on it, but it is what happened, and it will be part of the defining. No, I don't think we will either, and it'll be part of the sort of like defining experience of that game or memory from that game for a lot of people. But in a big picture here, Nebraska, once again, I said this at the very start of the show, it just felt like they had a couple chances maybe to throw knockout punches, and not even that they didn't land them, just that Iowa just kept on
getting back up.
They kept getting up off the mat. And, you know, that is the thing that has defined them over this last couple weeks of the season. I mean, they have played incredibly offensively for what they have, you know, compared to what they have for the majority of the season over their NCAA tournament run so far. And that's why I thought that it would be such a fun game last night, and it ended up being that. But they just keep on grinding. They just keep on fighting you. You know, at the start of the game, Nebraska's coming out and they look like they're about to have one of their supernova nights. And, you know, they look really comfortable on offense, and Iowa just doesn't die. Couldn't kill them. And then things tightened up at the end of the game, and the advantage went to the team who had sort of been climbing that hill all night long.
Yeah, I mean, the way Nebraska started that game was everything that you were sort of hoping for, because they started it fast. They did what you're kind of hoping, and then something they hadn't really done in the 2 previous Iowa games, and they just could not sort of pull away. I mean, it was 12-2, then it was 16-6, and then I think they were up 10 another time at that point. They were up 8 numerous times and just couldn't get the stop. And you got to give, during the run of that game, like there was multiple times where there'd be like a 3-possession sequence where it's 3-pointer on one end, 3-point answer on the other end, 3-pointer on the other end. So, I mean, like, if you were to remove yourself from a fan of either of those teams and you're not one of the Creighton people in our StreamYard today, you know, or in the comments today, like, just an incredible basketball experience in the first half of just watching these teams go back and forth. And the amount of times that Ben McCollum was just putting his head in his hands because Nebraska was sort of dicing up that defense in the first half. And he just, you know, like he would be pulling guys out and just like not really yelling at them, but sort of like, what were you doing? Because their rotation wasn't particularly good.
You didn't see this, but they had one early in the game where, I mean, McCollum's got them all. He's got his 5 guys that are out on the floor. He's got them out on the floor. And he's killing them. I mean, he's ripping into him. He's got spittle coming out, you know, like he's doing he did one of these, like, what are we doing out there walking around like this? He basically called them soft for how they started that game. And he was right. And guess what? Those dudes turned it around pretty quick. They got the message.
Yeah, no, I mean they just kept playing, and they had guys that knocked down shots, and again, like so much of this game to me is you got almost all of the things that you were hoping for, save for one very specific category. But you got the Price Sanford game. You got they rebounded really well. I mean, Berke was outstanding, particularly on the defensive end for Nebraska, and so they rebounded really well. They were shooting well early in the game, but they couldn't get defensive stops or enough defensive stops. They were rarely ever getting their hands on passes. I mean, that was the thing that Iowa did so critically well, is they didn't put the ball in harm's way. And then Nebraska only had 10 turnovers, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
But Iowa turned those 10 turnovers into like 20 points. And Nebraska only scored 7 points off of Iowa's 4 turnovers. So it's a situation where, again, and this has happened in all 3 of these games this year, Iowa has maximized every time Nebraska made a mistake.
Yep.
And, and I mean like the turnover mistakes, not just the 4 guys on the court mistake, which they maximize that too. And so it's a deal where, for whatever reason, and Nebraska does this to so many other teams, Iowa was just able all year to make Nebraska pay every time they turned them over in a way that almost no other team did.
So part of this is just Iowa, right? Like, and I'm talking about not Iowa, like, go Hawkeyes, let's go Hawks. I'm talking about
the literal basketball team.
The basketball team. They, I mean, they have a great coach. They have a great coach. I mean, he has maximized everywhere he's been. He's certainly absolutely maximized the hell out of this roster. I mean, to get him to the Elite Eight and potentially to the Final Four. I mean, he's so good. But consider this. I mean, we did talk about at the end of the regular season, into Big Ten tournament time, and into the NCAA tournament, how we thought it would be. This is a common refrain, and I believe it. I believe it's true, that Nebraska, for a team that is, not seen them this year, playing out of conference, whatever it might be, they would be a difficult team to prepare for with all their movements and their kind of, not junky defense. They're sort of scheme heavy defense, right? They have different, assignments and responsibilities. And there's just a lot of chess going on with what Nebraska is doing in a basketball game. That exact thing may have worked against them. Iowa, now it's really oversimplistic in my opinion to just say they quote unquote figured them out. But they
made shots. Like, it's not figuring somebody out. They made 6 more threes than their best other game against Nebraska.
But what they did offensively, the Iowa on offense, they weren't doing anything different except for, like you said, making shots. And why were they making shots? They decided to put Nebraska in rotation, as they always are, and they've been really good at getting him in rotation, but they kept doing it. I mean, rotation. Like, we're talking about 2 or 3 or 4 extra passes, just pop, skips around the perimeter, post entries, like guys crab dribbling into the painted area, like all sorts of different movements and things like that. And yeah, I do think Nebraska sort of wore down a little bit. And you have to really, really understand that if you're going to dive deep into doing that, to Nebraska in a game, because there's a chance that it doesn't work. Iowa had a pretty good idea. Like, all right, we're going to kind of wear them out a little bit, and we're going to make them run a lot, and we're going to see what happens.
I just don't know that matters as much as in the context of they hit some critical shots, and they just had multiple guys that were scoring options. Like, Nebraska got to the point where they could only hunt for one player when Frager was on the bench, and Iowa at the end of the game had 3 or 4 different options on any play, to the point where Bennett Sturts ends up with the ball at the ends of his hands on the critical 3-pointer with 2 whatever left. I mean, someone has to take that shot. He just happened to bury it. The next possession, you're able to get it into the corner, and was that one Sage who hit the yeah. So I mean, but if you've got guys that can knock down threes, And most of the year, I mean, you got Ken Palm, pull it up. Like, how many times have they hit 13 threes in a game this season against a team anywhere remotely close to Nebraska's caliber, or a Big Ten game? Just go Big Ten teams. I mean, so they shot really, really well, and they shot well against Florida and Clemson.
But what I'm saying, Schaefer, is like part of the reason why is they were super committed to just getting them in rotation, and you know, like eventually those rotations were late, and Iowa scored on each of their last 4 possessions, and they were better in the last 5 minutes of the game, as we just talked about.
Right, but you also still have to have the guys physically make the shots. Like, you know, they were doing some of these things in other parts of other games. I mean, you go back to the game in Lincoln, like they started coming back when they started hitting threes again. I think that's when I don't know if it was Sage or if it was Koch or whoever was hitting threes in that one. I mean,
I don't think it's as simple though as just to be like, yeah, they played out of their mind offensively. They have been playing like this.
How many times have they hit 13 threes in a game?
This was the second time this year in total.
Against Big Ten teams, second time?
Against Big Ten teams, this was the first time this year. But like they had 12 against Purdue, they had 10 against Oregon, they had 11 against Nebraska. The time in Lincoln, they had 10 against Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. So there was a couple that were up there. But like I do think it's a little bit oversimplistic to just be like, hey, they made 13 threes. Like, what are you supposed to do? Their offensive efficiency numbers over the last 3 games, these NCAA tournament games, have been unreal, and that's mostly because of what you said before, which is they're a low possession team, and they just completely maximize whatever they get. And yes, you're right, they do have to make the shots. I mean, but they got a lot of good looks. There weren't a lot of like tough forced.
I don't want to. Again, I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm just saying, you can go to the other end of the court and count how many good looks Rink Mast and Sam Hoiberg did not make last night.
Sure.
And you can basically, like, that's the difference in this conversation. If Sam Hoiberg and Rink Mast make their good looks in the same way that Iowa made their good looks, you know, we're like, that's what they had. Guys come out, play at a really high level, and Nebraska had a couple critical players did not meet where you would have expected them to be, let alone, you know, Sam Hoiberg had another horrendous night with just keeping control of the basketball. Like, it's unfortunate for those two guys specifically. They played some really poor games in the final game of their Nebraska careers.
Yeah. And so we could talk about the shortcomings on that individual perspective as well. I mean, I thought Sam Hoiberg was the worst he's been all year. Not to like, you know, but not to make it that
five turnovers.
He had 5 turnovers in the game. I thought he looked very, very, very uncomfortable with the basketball in his hands, and I definitely thought he looked uncomfortable shooting it. I don't know what to attribute that to. I don't know why. It was just an off night for him, but he had become a pretty reliable shooter, although with not very much volume. He wasn't making. I mean, there was really.
He didn't
no
make a 3 in the tournament.
No, there was really no chance. Wow, in the tournament. Wow. I didn't feel like he was giving Nebraska a very good chance. You know, and Lawrence was pretty, you know, solid. But you're right. It had to come from Sanford. They, you know, early part of the reason why Nebraska was able to get off to such a good start was that Iowa, they tried something with the matchup on Mast, and they immediately paid for it. And then they got offensive rebound because it was Koch who was against Mast, and he was just like backing the dude down. You know, he was like, all right, screw this. And then if he missed, you get an offensive rebound. And I think they got 4 offensive rebounds on 4 misses, like in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game. Nebraska did. It was like, yeah, okay. So they changed it. They changed it up, and they went to Manuwu. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Manuwu against him, and he did a great job on Mast, and it sort of neutralized Mast a little bit. He wasn't able to do the same things, and so I think that's another McCollum thing. You just kind of threw a whole bunch of stuff at him. Nebraska was throwing a whole bunch of stuff at them too. They went zone for a few possessions, but you know, weren't able to get just enough of what they needed offensively out of guys.
I mentioned those possessions where it'd be like 3-pointer here, 3-pointer there, 3-pointer here. There was kind of a fun moment where Iowa decides to pull all of its players out and they're playing like a 5-out offense, just spreading it around the top of the key and like trying to really stress Nebraska as to where it's coming from. They were able to open up for a layup. And so the next time down, Lenzer or whoever, Nebraska decides to switch to the 1-3-1. And Iowa just immediately has to change their offense on the fly. Like they
turned it over right away.
Yeah.
They turned over right away.
And so like it's just that sort of chess match piece of you do this, we'll do this. You do this, we'll do this. I mean, you get two teams that played each other that feel relatively even in terms of how they're matched up. I mean, we saw it last night. Like these teams are very comfortable with each other's personnel, that you have a general idea of what to expect from each player that's on the court, really.
Yeah, they were trying so many different things during that game. I knew it was going to be one of those. I knew it was going to be one of those type of games where you're just going to see so many different adjustments and so many different things. And yeah, I do, to your point, Schaefer, it might sound like an oversimplification of, all right, well, you just have to execute. But when you're tied with 2 minutes left in a game where you're playing the team for the third time this season in the Sweet 16, who gets the better looks and who makes them, and that's sort of,
well,
and
Bennett Search buries a three,
which I get, that's where I start to really think about the Iowa of it all, like Nebraska wilted in the last few minutes of that basketball game, compared to their opponents anyway. I mean, give all the credit in the world to Iowa for what they did, making those shots and getting those looks in the last few minutes. But I mean, Nebraska not getting a field goal basically from the 6-minute mark to the 1-minute mark in the game is wild. Just kind of looked a little bit out of sorts. And you're right, Schaefer, they didn't really know who to turn to in those spots, which I think adds to the conversation as well. But that's where you start thinking about all right, things are getting really tight. At the same time, Nebraska, played that role in the last game against Vanderbilt and they were fine, and so I don't really know what to make of it other than giving Iowa the most credit in the world for how they were able to pull that one out.
And in that game against Vanderbilt, you had 4 or 5 guys that were in double figures, and Berke makes 2 threes, and you're down 4 and Frager hits a 3. And like, you had guys step up in critical situations on Thursday night once it got close and late, and really from that 6-minute stretch. And I go back to this, like Sanford, whatever happens at the top of the key and the ball just gets kicked down to the other end and they get their 2 points. Like everything after that sort of just went into a tailspin for Nebraska offensively. They couldn't find other shots. They couldn't find, they couldn't get anyone else to make a basket. I mean, no one else could score outside of Frager or Sanford in the final 6+ minutes of a game. Like that is not how you're going to advance in the NCAA tournament.
Let's see. A couple things from you all here. By the way, we want to hear from you. 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You could call or text that number. Tweet at Happen Schaefer, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer. Also get in your Friday shout outs. We'll have Friday shout outs coming out at 8:45. Use the hashtag Friday shout outs, which we almost forgot about, but Mike Schaefer, of course, reminded me. From the 402, Connor, they hit 6 total threes in their first 2 tournament games. You sound quite dumb. Well, I mean, that's just not true. They hit 7 in each of their first 2 tournament games. So they hit 14 in their first 2 tournament games. So I mean, this was, if you were just like, I don't know, like if you were just looking at Nebraska and saying, boy, how did they not get this job done? You are ignoring the best coaching job in the country. You are ignoring what Iowa is able to do. And it's not just Sturts, it's getting those role players to stand, like, you're at the point, like Fulgaris made the game-winning shot against Florida in the corner, and he was really he was just really, really, really good in this game. That's a role guy. I mean, that's a role guy for them. And Koch knocked down 3 threes for him. And obviously Sturts was really steady with his 20 points. The Manuwu, who from a line scorer perspective had 0 points in the game, went 0 of 2 from the field, pulled down just 1 rebound and had 2 assists. I felt like he was really impactful in the game. This is we talked about McCollum and Iowa yesterday. In my opinion, this is a mid-major-ish roster with Bennett Sturtz, and they're in the Elite Eight, and they have a chance to go to the Final Four. This is an incredible coaching job. And then, yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of an element of they're a little hot right now. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. McCollum had this quote last night where he's like, "I like going into road, venue." Like they just have this kind of, they have balls, man. Like I don't know what you're supposed to say. Like they have that thing that it takes to win in these tight games in the NCAA tournament, and they won 3 of them. And I just could not be more impressed with them.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly maximized everything that they have, and they took advantage of every situation that they could have yesterday. And ultimately, they're moving on. Like there's not a whole lot more that you can kind of say to that. I mean, the coaching aspect of it, this can still be true. He can still do the best coaching job of anybody in the NCAA tournament to this point, and they could still be going home today. They
Absolutely.
made shots. I mean, I don't think I don't know that I would say that he completely and utterly outcoached Fred Hoiberg. Obviously, the 4 players saying is going to loom over that. But the fact that he had critical players step up in critical situations, whereas Nebraska couldn't get anyone to join Frager and Sanford, just is the whole game to me. Like there's not a lot else that I could look at when I see Jamarcus Lawrence and Rink Mast and Sam Hoiberg are under 10 points and Iowa has 4 guys in double figures. Like it's just that balanced scoring without having any one player having to shoulder the load. You go back to that Iowa City game where Sturtz had to have 25 of their 57 points. I mean, we talked about his usage rate, right? Yesterday or I think either Matt McMaster and I did, or you and I did. Like Sturtz didn't have to be everything, and that made such a huge difference.
No doubt about it. I want to get to a text, and it'll lead us well into our next segment here. A text from the 402. Obviously, very early, but what happens with Frager and Price? Not sure Price raises his draft stock anymore after next year, after next year compared to this year. So let's put a pin in that. We'll talk about the future a little bit, and some of those guys and their responses last night. Obviously, after the game was a very emotional time and things like that. So we could talk about it. Once again, 402-951-1620. Want to remind you before we take a break that the Omaha food fight is continuing to roll on. Who serves the best bite in the Omaha Metro? Omaha Food Fight presented by Union Bank and Trust, where the Edible 8 is going on right now through Sunday. So get in your votes right now at 1620thezone.com. A lot of great restaurants up vying for that championship right now. And then, of course, we'll move into the next round. Vote 1620thezone.com and the Omaha Food Fight presented by Union Bank and Trust. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert with you this morning. Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com here in Omaha, and Mike Schaefer in Houston, but in theory, making his way back this afternoon after standing in a very, very long TSA line. Are they allowing people to jump out of line to go to the bathroom, as long as you have someone to hold your place in line? This is a curiosity for me.
Ooh, I'll check on this. I'll see if I can find out that information.
I could ask my sister. I think she knows the answer to that.
Well, I'm sure, like, if you have someone with you, they could just hold the spot, and then you move on to the next thing. But you don't know where they're gonna be. I am not envious of the day that you're about to have. But at least we get to talk about this very fun basketball game with all of you. The more fun thing to talk about is the future of Nebraska basketball and sort of what this year did to make that picture a little bit brighter. I guess when people were asking about what happens with individual guys, I'm under the impression that that Frager is coming back, and that I think Nebraska feels pretty good about that situation at the moment. Price is an interesting one, and I think they could obviously Nebraska can make it really, really a priority to bring him back and pay him and all those different things. I also think he's going to go through the draft process, and he just had an incredible NCAA tournament in front of everyone. And so I do wonder if that thought process or if that has changed in his mind, where maybe a couple of weeks ago he's thinking, oh yeah, don't worry about it, I'm back. I do think he is undoubtedly looked at as a different kind of prospect now than he was in certainly in February.
Yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable saying that there's a very good chance he's reached an understanding with Nebraska as to what the number looks like if he comes back. And so the only place that he's going would be to potentially go through the NBA draft process, see where he's at. If the money can be better than what a second round pick is, I'm guessing he'd probably return. But you never know. I mean, he could go through that process, and we've all seen his ability to shoot. Like that guy, he hit some shots yesterday. There was one where it looked like he hadn't even started turning around yet when he had caught the ball, and he was just going to catch and spin in the same motion and shoot, and he drained it. I mean, so he's got an all-world talent, but should he choose not to go to the NBA, he's 100% going to be back at Nebraska then at that point. Yeah. I feel very good about Frager. I think Frager is going to return. I think that your kind of your core group out of this that I feel good about. KO will be back. I think he'll be, coming off the bench for you again next year is sort of, great depth, a guy who can play a lot of different positions, sort of a janitor of sorts for you where he can do, different things. Berke, I expect to return in his role, as Nebraska's sort of enforcer inside and all of that. Then it gets sort of interesting because you've got two guys that were just out medically most of the year in Connor Essegian and in Oogie. And Oogie had commented that he plans to return. I'm fascinated because Nebraska, whatever their NIL situation is, they're going to go get a big, no matter what. And I think they like Leo Curtis quite a bit. And so they want to see, keep him around, see what that looks like. So I think they're going to target getting a big. They need to get a point guard for reasons that you were describing at the end of the last segment where they kind of shifted roles in the middle of Big Ten from Les Jamarcus handling the ball to more Sam. And, he's struggled quite a bit down the stretch.
Frankly, both guys, when operating with the basketball in their hand, were very good.
Yeah, and neither one's a point guard. Like that's
exactly
some of it is and Hoiberg's system is predicated usually on having some sort of point forward or someone that can handle the ball like that. And Mass plays point center, and it's really good when it's good. But when you get these teams that can put pressure on your guards and just endlessly hound you at half court and on. That's where some of the Nebraska's larger turnovers and turnover numbers would come from. So I think a point guard then becomes the next big thing. But the nucleus of theoretically what they'd have back if you have Price Sanford return is really, really good. There's obviously a lot of excitement about Colin Rice and Jacob Lanier, the two freshmen that they have coming in, two guys that could play early in their careers. Will Cooper, someone to keep an eye off of the bench potentially for Nebraska. But the big thing is going to be going out and finding the next big. And we've said this last year, and I don't even think that it's true. I think they somehow got less athletic and still managed to win a bunch of basketball games. But it does feel like overall they need to improve the athleticism of kind of what they're putting out there at times. I mean, they have no real rim protection, and that's something that against certain teams is a real problem.
It's so funny when you're trying to you're making up like you're thinking about it in your head. And in basketball in particular, I don't think it's probably as much this way in football. In basketball, I don't know if you can have any preconceived notions of like the exact type of team you want to be. You can have Nebraska's always going to have their principles and what they do and the way that they play. And there's that'll always be the case, but you don't really know what you're going to be until you find the personnel that you have. And, I think that's especially true for a team like Iowa this year, who, they got a bunch of guys, late ads, guys for coming up from Drake or Robert Morris in the case of Fulgaris and Wyoming and a variety of other places and stuff like that. You're like, all right, well, what do we have here? And they're like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We do have Bennett Sturts, so that's cool, and
it's a good place to start.
It's a really good place to start. And I do think, Nebraska, they'll have to go this entire portal period without knowing what the Sanford resolution is, I think, which will be tough. That'll make it a little bit tougher, I think, but it'll be fascinating to see where they land. They have an opportunity to potentially go out and take advantage of this. Point guard, man. I just think you got to find a steady hand at that point guard spot.
Yeah, and that's been the one thing that Hoiberg, for whatever reason, since he started with Cam Mack, who was a good in his own unique way, as a point guard, like they just haven't had it. Like, and then last year he has two traditional point guards on his roster, and Raleigh Wooster and Ulis. And it didn't go particularly well there either. He's missed out on a number of high school guys he's tried to get. I think they're what they prefer would be having someone come in and play as a young player and develop that way than versus trying to grab a point guard out of the portal and just slap him into what you're doing. But they have to have a primary ball handler that isn't just another forward. And right now, I mean, with no Jamarcus and no Sam, like that has to be an area of emphasis. They don't have anybody like that can handle the ball for him on the roster.
Let's take a phone call here on the Parade Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here's JD. Good morning, JD.
Morning, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Just two quick questions. First, what do you think Fred was doing playing with 4? And second, how big of a factor was it showing Matt Rule during that 5 minutes left in the game?
JD, great question. So did you see this? Did you see this on social media?
Yes, I did.
There's 0% chance you couldn't have heard about this. I mean, it was already in our YouTube comments as well.
Okay, I did. I was just so they
who never hears about anything did know about this.
That's crazy. So they showed what was the screenshot? How much time was left on the clock when they showed Rule?
I think it was 6 minutes left, and it was 65-62. I think after a Sanford 3 that got Nebraska back up by 3, and then since then Iowa went on the 15-6 run to close out the deal.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That was almost exactly lined up when Nebraska just went ice cold.
Yeah.
And
they basically went on their very long drought.
Oh man. That's I don't know what to say about that.
Did you also saw the Florida buff man wearing a Nebraska jersey at the game?
Yeah,
there was mention of that as well.
That was AI.
The giant Florida Hulk guy who was wearing a Florida jersey at the Iowa game last time. Yeah, I guess he showed up at a Nebraska. He was at a game. There was some AI going around. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I didn't I don't
There's
know
one
what's
with
AI
him.
and what's
There's
not.
one with him in a Husker jersey, one with him in an Iowa jersey. So I really don't know.
Maybe he just
Maybe
is,
the AI
maybe he's
was-
an industry plant and he got paid like that charge.
It could be
Yeah,
real. It
yeah,
could
just-
absolutely be real. He could have already had tickets to go to Houston and decided to use those tickets and went anyways, and then wanted to root against Iowa and put on a Nebraska jersey.
that was my assumption.
When I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is probably AI," but I don't know. I mean,
Also,
that's the society that we're in right now, where you really can't trust anything that you see at any point in time.
The other question that JD had was, what do you think about Fred only playing 4 guys?
Didn't love it. Would not do it again.
not a good thing.
Well, look, I'm not a basketball X's and O's guy, but I don't know that it's a viable strategy to employ ever again.
I don't think so. Once again, when that happened, I just thought, oh, well, Bearcade blew his assignment. He got lost, and and the Fulgaris guy went up and dunked it. There was literally 4 guys on the floor. I could not
That's
believe
what I mean. In the arena, you would have no idea.
Yeah.
You would just have no idea.
Van Gundy was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They had 4 guys on the floor. And then I didn't even believe him when he said it on the broadcast. I was like, well, Van Gundy's not that good. But I heard him and I was like, that can't be right. He's counting wrong. Something's missing here. And sure enough, there was Mast checking in and all those. You like Van Gundy? You're a big Van Gundy guy?
He's a great announcer. I like how he breaks down the game. He will catch everything that we're not really seeing.
Robbie Hummel was the star of the show from a broadcast perspective.
Robbie Hummel's really good. I think the crew is really good. They are a great number 2 crew for the March Madness.
Oh God, I forgot Kevin Harlan was on the call. Well, I definitely it was a little bit, such a moment.
It was a little bit jarring in the start of the game when he's doing his very like Kevin Harlan like sort of introductions to the team, and he's like, here's Hoiberg, the coach's son. And I'm like, whoa, this is the basketball ex Kevin Harlan. Kind of crazy.
He's shorter than I thought he would be. But yeah, I mean, you're standing next to Fred Hoiberg. Everybody sort of looks short. But
and he's standing next to Van Gundy. He probably seems like a lot taller.
But standing next to Hummel. So it's like this weird little, you have Hoiberg and Hummel. When I tell you that photo, you have Hoiberg and Hummel, and then Harlan comes walking up a little bit later, and then you have Van Gundy who can barely see over the chair back. Like it was, I mean, it's quite the crew from a visual standpoint.
Brian says Nick Baugh on X said the officials are supposed to count the players. No, well, he said that. He did a whole string of tweets last night. I saw he was talking with an official. But yeah, the conclusion was like you always count prior to every possession, but you are under no obligation to stop the game if there are 4 on the floor. You are
ultimately it's Nebraska's job to have 5 players on the court.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem that.
I mean, look, I love blaming officials. That's part of the whole thing here. That's not their job. Isn't to make sure Nebraska has 5 on the court. It's to make sure they don't have 6.
Everybody else gets it right like 100% of the time, and Nebraska didn't in a critical situation last night. All right, let's take a break. We will come back. We have Joey's headlines. We have plenty to come. Don't forget to get in your Friday shout outs. Josh Peterson is going to join the show. I'm very curious to see what Jake Sorensen sounds like this morning following his radio show in Houston. Also, a reminder before we get to the headlines that the half off deal is coming up in just a little bit over an hour. Betty Ray's ice cream, scoops, shakes, sundaes, Sammy's. Every treat is crafted with locally sourced ingredients served in a fresh homemade waffle cone or bowl of your choice. So the zone deal on sale at 9:00. That is to Betty Ray's ice cream, $50 in gift vouchers for just $25. Once again, 9:00, 1620thezone.com. Betty Ray's at Exarban on 63rd Street in Center or 156 and Dodge. We'll be back after this. All right, once again, get in your Friday shout-outs. We'll hit those in about an hour. Use the hashtag Friday shout-outs at HappenSchafe on Twitter. First, we have the headlines. Joey, what do we have?
Okay, the first headline: delivery robots smash Chicago bus shelters in 2 separate incidents.
Okay, I saw a video of this. It's very funny. It's not like a funny story, but it is a funny video to watch. I'm interested. It's a good option right now.
Would you be able to pull the video?
I could if we pick that story, but what's the other headline?
The other headline is man eats at 28 Michelin star restaurants in New York in 24 hours.
Also interested, but there is going to be a lot of, I wonder what I hope the story entails specific things.
Full breakdown of everything that was eaten at each restaurant.
Yeah, I would like to hear about these restaurants. Yeah.
I agree. Both of these are interesting to me. If I want to just see the video based on how you described it. So that would be my choice. But if you want to go with the Michelin restaurants, do we know, Joey, is there a breakdown of what was consumed at these places?
Yeah, is there any sort of here? I'll click on it now. Honestly,
I'm taking a look.
Nope, there's nothing.
But he the food alone he paid.
These stories are idiotic.
He paid almost $1,000 plus tips.
These blogs are so dumb.
I don't care about
All
that.
they do is aggregate the stuff, and when they have the like, you know, they actually they take the time to write up the stories, but they don't take the time to actually tell us any sort of details whatsoever.
Because aggregation leads to agitation, right?
Yeah, that is definitely the case for me. That's for sure. So I don't think I could get you the video, but you could click on the story and you could watch it yourself. It's a YouTube link.
I'm gonna watch the video.
So we'll do that. 2 delivery robots crashed into 2 bus shelters in Chicago within a matter of days, and one of the incidents was caught on camera. The first crash occurred Sunday when a delivery robot by Serve Robotics crashed into a CTA bus shelter, shattering the glass. The crash, which was caught on camera, shows the robot stop and remain in place after causing the glass to shatter. So that's the best part of it. It like the robot seemingly is at least a little bit aware that it has done something wrong, and it is almost like the stopping of the robot almost makes it seem remorseful in a way, and then the robot just like continues on with its life, delivering whatever sort of groceries. The crash says, quote, "We're aware of the incident involving one of our robots in Chicago," a spokesperson from Serve Robots said. "No injuries were reported. Our team responded quickly to clean up, and we're reviewing what happened to make improvements. We've also been in contact with local stakeholders and are committed to addressing the concerns directly. We take this matter very, very seriously." A second crash then occurred on Tuesday involving a robot owned by Coco Robotics, shattering the glass at a bus shelter near North Ave and Halstead Street. Carl Hansen, the vice president of Coco Robotics, said the company would be taking care of any costs relating to the shelter. The videos are pretty funny, though.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like I said, I'm excited to see these for myself. Lag's bad.
Oh, we're on mega delay at this point. So there you go. There's your story. You know what? I'm going to click on the other story just for fun anyway. So 28 Michelin restaurants in New York in 24 hours. This is a guy named Joshua Fixon. He has apparently done stuff like this before. He previously broke the record for the most Michelin star restaurants visited in 24 hours in 2023. He hit 22 New York eateries in the allotted time. And then he lost that record. So this is just an aim to get it back. And he was able to do so. He took the challenge again. He says, quote, "I can't even imagine the total costs, including the trip, or maybe I prefer not to. But the food alone cost $976.97 plus tip. Transportation between restaurants was another $474, which honestly, $1,000 to eat at 25 Michelin star restaurants does not seem like a lot.
So I looked at the Guinness World Records page for this story, and there's pictures of the food that he was eating. It was mostly containing small bites.
So
you could
he
get.
just got like appetizers.
Yeah,
basically.
basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's trying to set a record. Everybody's trying to set records these days instead of actually enjoying their food. It's very, very weird. This is like the modern day version of those man versus food challenges where the guy would go in and eat like 80 hamburgers
But it's
in 10 minutes. Then like if you eat all the 80 hamburgers, then you get them for free. But you also have to put yourself through an immense amount of pain to eat the 80 hamburgers.
And I don't think the meals that he was eating was like heavy like you see in those challenges. It was more delicate or light.
I just want to know the restaurant so I can know which Michelin star restaurants are in New York that I have to visit. I don't know that I've ever been to a Michelin star restaurant, but I am certainly interested in eating
like to visit
delicious food. All right, those are Joey's headlines. We appreciate it. The 8:00 hour is coming up. We'll have more on Nebraska, Iowa. You know what? We might even talk like just a little tiny bit about the spring game. Josh Peterson will join us. Friday shout outs, Jake Sorensen, all to come. Halfway home on a Friday on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. By the way, if you're watching along this on YouTube, you might be able to see today's opening day for me, which I'm one of the few. There's 6 teams who did not play yesterday on real life opening day. And apparently my Kansas City Royals and the Atlanta Braves tonight will be the final 2 to open their season. So in honor of that, I have decided to don my MVP jersey this year, Bobby Witt Jr. There you go. Shout out to opening day. Baseball. Joey, being on this show with Schaefer, should he rejoin the show at some point? Maybe he will, maybe he won't.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
You might become a little bit of a baseball fan. I'm just warning you.
Maybe. I can't handle the long stretch. I just realized there's 161 more of these things.
You don't like, I think not more than anything, but like you like knowing stuff, right? You like having the information. You like being involved in these conversations. And so me and Schaefer are going to be talking about baseball on a relatively daily basis, whether it's just a mention or like an actual planned segment. And so you're going to be like, wow, what am I missing? These guys make these baseball conversations sound so fun and so interesting when they complain about their AL Central teams. And you'll be like, maybe I should be a fan of an AL Central team. And you'll pick the Tigers and I'll be angry at you. But there you go. It's my opening day.
Maybe. But at least the next 2 months, I got my Boston Celtics to look forward to.
How did Cleveland do yesterday, Schaefer?
They took on Michael Stibbs' Seattle Mariners during the podcast that never ends last night. And so Chase DeLauder in his first Major League Baseball game, because the postseason run last year didn't count.
That's right.
Hit 2 home runs in his first Major League Baseball game. There was 4 guys in their MLB debut yesterday that hit hit home runs, which is like an all-time stat. Never happened before. So they ended up winning like 5-4 or 6-4, something like that.
All right, there you go. A win to start the season for Schaefer. We'll see what happens for my Royals.
1 down, 161 more to go.
Well, here's the thing, Joey. Like, we don't watch all the games. So we're big diehard. You can still be a big diehard fan, so you don't have to watch all of them.
No, I'm just saying you got 1 game in the books and there's 161 more to go. I did not say you guys are going to watch every single game.
It's true. We're not going to. But yes,
but it's a good start to the long season.
Long way to go. Sometimes teams win 20 in a row. Schaefer's team has been an example of this before.
22.
Okay, so this topic is admittedly I don't know. I feel like it's got to get talked about.
I saw it on there and I was like, oh, okay.
It has to get mentioned, just because I know people are going to be talking about it today. I guarantee you there's going to be a column about it or something like that. What do we do with Iowa? Is this an Iowa problem? And I'm not saying we discussed it a little bit earlier in the show. Like, I don't know how much of the Iowa of it all was responsible for the occurrences of last night. I just think they're a really, really tough basketball team, and as I've been saying throughout the tournament, they got some real balls. There's no doubt about that. But there is the Iowa factor, and there's no doubt that things tightened up a bit for both teams as you got into the later stages of the game. I was tweeting last night, like I used the Rocky versus Apollo Creed at the end of Rocky 3, where they just punch each other simultaneously and the movie ends. That's the way it felt like it should have ended. Neither team in those battles this year, they had such great seasons according to what they're historically have been and what their talent level is and all those different things. Like, they both maximized. And I just thought the perfect ending would have been the end of Rocky 3, where they punch each other. Unfortunately, you had to finish the basketball game. And during the finish of the basketball game, Nebraska crumbled. They wilted a little bit, at least compared to their opponent, who was excellent, as we've talked about a lot. I don't want to take away from what Iowa is doing. It's really, really, really impressive. But I don't know what to do with it. Nebraska can't get over the hump against a team wearing black and gold, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like maybe they had exercised at least some of those demons with the overtime win in the end of the regular season. But even that sort of featured a similar thing where Nebraska would get up by double digits and then just didn't put Iowa away and had the opportunity to at the end of the game and couldn't, keep that three from coming in. And then they win in overtime. And I I don't know. I don't know what to do with the Iowa piece of it. I don't really look at this in the same way as Nebraska's football struggles with closing out games against Iowa or just Iowa in general. And then Nebraska baseball has had their issues when they've gone over to Iowa City to play over there. They haven't won a whole lot of games. Now, I will say it feels like when those respective teams meet up in, uh, here in Omaha for the Big Ten tournament, Nebraska's done very well in those scenarios. So it feels like it's a sort of a football conversation that then looms over everything else. Now, women's basketball has been involved in this conversation too, because you've had numerous games with Caitlin Clark over the years where it felt like Nebraska had the opportunity to kind of seize the moment and then they couldn't. Famously that the Big Ten Conference Championship, I think, right? Like Nebraska had that game basically won and then didn't, and allowed Iowa and Caitlin Clark to leave with win. Now they did win the home game that year
Yes.
as well, but it's one of those things I remember we discussed the day after President's Day because you were gone for Nebraska, Iowa, which tipped off at 11 a.m. And you talked about just being in the arena for the "Let's Go Hawk" chants and how that's just become this whole thing. And I totally understand that it lives in the psyche of people, and there's certainly Iowa is seemingly on a heater when it comes to Nebraska matchups. I just don't know what to do when it crosses sports. When you look at football, it's just a whole lot of Nebraska self-destructs at the end of the game. Basketball, I wouldn't have thought that until roughly, the last 2 minutes of last night. And so it's a deal where they continue to flip the coin and have it come up tails, and Nebraska's sitting on heads waiting for it to be their turn.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know if you can actually make any sort of real case that there is something that is affecting Nebraska or Iowa late in these games when they play each other, with the exception of just showing me the results. Okay,
Sure,
great.
sure.
Show me the results. I understand. Like if you
But
show
how
me
do
the
you
results,
pull it all together? Like
exactly. You show me the results, and what it says is Iowa owns Nebraska. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like that's what it says. But why? And why does it seem to happen in the most, gut wrenching fashion? Oftentimes, you're right, Schaefer. It starts at football, and then any other time they get together on a non-football field, Nebraska and Iowa, like it's sort of in the back of your head until it's not. And going into yesterday, I think it was probably in the back of people's head, and then it wasn't. It was in the front at the end of the game. And so I don't know what to do with it. I don't know the cause. I don't know why. Could you just say, yeah, well, Nebraska, as across the board as these athletic programs, they, for whatever reason, can't find ways to close games the right way or keep getting in their own way over and over and over again. And that's regardless of who they're playing. But it definitely seems to be exposed over and over and over again by your neighbors.
And the common denominator, regardless of sport, is that at the end of games, for whatever reason, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, I assume wrestling to some degree, the people wearing the black and the yellow just make plays. They seize those opportunities in a way that Nebraska just hasn't done. I mean, Nebraska, like, pick a year in football. Nebraska got the ball in 2019, and inexplicably your quarterback runs out of bounds, saving extra time for him. You're not able to move the ball from midfield. You punt it away, and Nate Stanley gets a pass down the middle. There's a late hit call, and then all of a sudden they're in line for a field goal. You pick a different year or a different sport, And, you can talk about Nebraska basketball needing to win a game against an Iowa team that's just dead man walking syndrome at the end of last year to just get into the Big Ten tournament, and they're still on the bubble, and they come out and they just lay the biggest egg imaginable at home on senior day. So it's just whatever it is, they continue to step up and make plays. And in these matchups, like I said, pick any of them across the sport. Nebraska hasn't closed out games very often. And I don't know why that is. I don't know that there's a explainable answer. If we wanted to start our own Happer and Schaefer conspiracy theory on it, maybe it's a proliferation of Casey's taking over most of the gas stations in the state. Maybe it's the slow encroachment of that has just caused all of this to turn into an extended Iowa territory, Iowa ownership of Nebraska through Casey's, and they're just taking over the convenience store world. That's the best bet that I have for you at this point in time. I can't give you any real meaningful reason because it's not always coaching. It's not the same teams. It's not the same sports, but the result largely has felt the same.
But why? I mean, so Sam writes in and he says, at Happen Schaefer, he says, I can't think of any glaring mental errors in the final 2 minutes. It was so out of character. It was so out of character and unbelievable to watch what unfold for Nebraska basketball. And like we've talked about before in the show, it was going to be an uphill battle in order for Nebraska to win that game anyway, down 3 with 58 seconds to go. But they had just made the 3 and sort of just stepped, at least kept themselves alive with the Frager 3, offensive rebound Frager 3. And then you got a guy who had been your steady rock all year long who, it appears for some reason, just forgets to check into the game or forgets to walk onto the court. It is inexplicable. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. And you're forced to think about other things that the other things that don't make sense. And, I think both of us are the same way, Schaefer. We like to just say, no, this happened because this happened. And this is why this happened. And it makes it really, but I can't figure it out. I've spent all 2.5 hours of the show today saying that over and over again. I can't figure it out. Why and how and who. I can't figure out why that happened. And now I'm thinking I don't know. Is there an Iowa thing that just for whatever reason Nebraska can't get over?
Yeah. I'm not the guy that's going to be able to find that answer because I don't spend a lot of time, I guess, churning through the why of it so much as in the individual games, you can point out those pieces. But the fact that it's this cross-sport thing, or has become in some ways, is sort of just, insanely fascinating. How does this continue to happen regardless of sport, regardless of year, regardless of teams, regardless of coaches? I mean, so there's no simplistic reason for it, which sort of just, is there a correlation, or, are we just trying to make the pieces fit to explain why Nebraska continues to lose to the team next door?
I'm trying, that's for sure. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt writes in on YouTube, says, answer, not talented enough. Enough said. So I did a tweet last night. It was yeah, I think McCollum's a no questions asked top 5 coach in the country right now. Look at what he's done with the roster he has. And someone was like, you really think that Iowa is less talented than Nebraska? Yes, I do. I do. So don't tell me that Nebraska didn't have enough talent to win that game. They most certainly do. Let's take a phone call on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here's Matt this morning. Hi, Matt. What's going on?
Great. So I shouldn't even say this because it's kind of I don't know, I just being a Nebraska fan, but this solidifies my resentment for Iowa. This is it. It's done now. I've hated Iowa now. If you can go a level beyond this, we're there, and it's never going back. I would have been completely fine if we lost to Florida. I kind of expected it. It would have been okay. I would have been okay, we lost to Florida, but we lost to Iowa. And again, I'm showing my upper hand to Iowa fans for that. But man, this just stings. Why does it have to be Iowa in the black and gold? Why?
I don't know, Matt. I don't know. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I don't know what to tell you. It definitely does make it worse. It shouldn't, like we said before, it shouldn't ruin the whole season or anything like that. Like, but it was going to be horrible losing in the Sweet 16 no matter what. It's always horrible to lose in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. It's good to make the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, but the chances are for all but one team, your loss is going to be devastatingly hard.
It's been like somehow hard to sell people on this idea. Oh, I would have been smiling and happy and singing Kumbaya after Florida beat Nebraska last night. That's how I would have felt. Like the people in the YouTube, Jimmy just, his entire season was over when Iowa beat Florida last Sunday. He gave up on sports. He's probably going to give up on sports entirely, other than commenting on this show every 5 minutes about how Iowa owns him. So I can't get inside the brains of other people, but I refuse to believe that there's someone in this world that was like, well, I wouldn't have been devastated at all had the best season in Nebraska basketball lost or ended with a loss to Florida. I would have been quite okay with it. In fact, I would have enjoyed it. No, are you serious? Like, I don't know what to do with that. At some point, you're going to move on from the Iowa piece of it, and you're going to remember that all of this happened. And you would have been devastated had they lost to Troy or Vanderbilt or Iowa or Florida or Illinois or any of these teams. When the season ends, it ends. There's not another tomorrow. That's what's devastating. That fact is what sucks. You won't see Rink Mass play again. You won't see Sam Hoiberg play again. You won't see those guys represent Nebraska. That's the devastating piece. If it's devastating to you that the state next door happened to be the team that did it, okay, fine, but that's not bigger than the idea that the team isn't going to play the next day. That's just you adding extra context onto the fact that Iowa just bothers you to that level.
Yeah,
you can't do anything about it.
I do think, just to lend a little bit of credence to it, like, it definitely makes it more difficult to swallow, given that you ended up losing to a team that was a 9 seed instead of a 1 seed. Like, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But you were going to be, to Schaefer's point, which I agree with completely. Like, I just, like, you were going to be sad. It was going to be bad if Nebraska screws up having 4 dudes on the floor with 58 seconds to go against a number 1 seed. You're thinking, all you're thinking about afterwards, if it goes the way it went last night, but you replace Iowa with Florida, all you're thinking about is, we were this close. We wouldn't have had 4 dudes on the floor with 58 seconds to go, and the dude got an and one to beat the number 1 seed and basically ended up being the favorite to the Final Four. So you tell me which one was worse. I mean, that's pain in and of itself right now. So like Sam writes in, he says, the pain will never go away. You'll always think about how hard it is to get back. Like this is in my experience very true. And it will, like, you'll think about this team and you'll have positive thoughts like, oh my God, remember when they went to the Sweet 16? Oh my God, remember when they, this and this and this, like that was such a fun year. They started 20-0. It was awesome. And then at the end of it, there will always be like a damn, that I'm projecting my experiences on you all, but in my experience, NCAA tournament losses all suck ass. They're terrible. They are awful. And it's tough to get over them. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think there's people out there that legitimately would have been like, yeah, I'd rather have Tanner's shot have gone through against Vanderbilt than experience the Sweet 16. And lose
yeah, no, that's ridiculous. Yeah,
but I think those people exist. I do.
Those people are idiots.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. It doesn't mean we aren't going to hear from them. It doesn't mean that they don't spend every waking moment thinking about whatever team that Nebraska lost to, instead of just the fact that the season's over.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell those people. Like Schaefer's been saying this entire time. Of course, you'd rather go to the Sweet 16 than not. What are you, crazy? Anyway, Josh Peterson is going to join us in a few minutes. He will try and parse through some of these feelings with us from the room across from Schaefer. Then Schaefer will finish out the show with us, and we'll find a way to get them to the Houston airport and in the TSA line before you know it, sadly. Want to hear from you guys, 402-951-1620. We have Friday shout-outs that are coming up here at the end of the hour, so get those in. Got a lot of stuff I want to talk about still. Jake Sorensen is going to join us. Emotional Jake Sorensen is going to be joining us at 9:15 or 9:20 as well. and then we'll get people out of here and send you into the weekend at some point. All right, let's take a break. Our dear friend Josh Peterson will join us on the other side on 1620 The Zone. But first, a word from Underdog Fantasy. The tournament is back. Upsets are inevitable. Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. You can make picks and win money right now in Nebraska. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get those picks right. You could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Another full slate of games this evening, and then, of course, tomorrow, and then, of course, Sunday as well. There's so many options available for you on Underdog. Once again, it's very, very simple. Higher or lower for certain player stat categories. Download the app today. Use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $50 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com for details. Consider with your play. Call 1-800-MY-RESET or visit ncpgambling.org. Phil writes in on the Equitable Bank inbox, there's no way you don't think that a loss to Iowa is worse than a loss to Florida would have been. I refuse to believe that. Yeah, a loss to Florida would have sucked still, but having it be a rival was 1,000 times worse. Would have felt the same if it were Creighton, and good luck in the crown, by the way. Thank you, Phil in Omaha. We're joined now on the Prairie Fog Casino Zone hotline and on the stream here, courtesy of Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, Josh Peterson from a Airbnb a wall away from Mike Schaefer in Houston. Good morning, Josh.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Good. How long was your podcast last night?
I think we did like two and a half, somewhere in there. I mean, a normal length, I guess. Schaefer had bailed on us probably an hour and a half before that. So it would have probably gone like 4 hours had they won. So we cut it in half. And then Stibbs and I decided to stay up until 2:30 watching Hell or High Water. So decided. Yeah, great movie. I had never seen it before. I had watched actually the first half in the morning. I had tried to squeeze it in all week long, but it was so busy. And then I was like, all right, I'll watch the first half then, second half today, and then I'll do the movie club. Well, now it was like we might be doing the movie club at the airport in 5 hours, so I'm trying to figure out when to get it in. And so Stibbs and I stayed up. Great movie. Yeah, highly recommend. Good job by you, Schaefer.
It's a fun watch, that's for sure. Okay, wow, 4 o'clock. Okay, so what?
So had you never seen the movie before?
No, that was the first time. I try to pick movies I've never seen in movie club. Yeah.
Good. It's amazing you never saw that when that came out. That was great.
I know.
What was the overriding emotion / talking point of the 2.5 hour long podcast?
Mostly sadness and pain. I will say this, and I told the story on the pod last night, and so I apologize to repeat myself for those who have heard me say it. Schaefer and I guess I'll just speak for myself. I didn't realize the 4 players on the floor thing until half hour after the game. We were walking. I sent a video as the horn hits to Odson to post on all of our socials of Iowa celebrating, because I figured that would do great numbers. And he made a quip about 4 players, and I thought he was talking about the actual play. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess one of them probably just wandered off. Like, who cares? It's the literal last seconds. They just made a free throw. And then I think I saw a tweet. Oh, yeah, I did. I saw a tweet from one of our great Creighton listeners, KD, like, about having 4 players on the floor in the most important moment. And this was like 2 seconds on the heels of Schaefer and I discussing what the hell happened on that one play where the guy leaked behind Bear K and he got the foul. And then it all hit me. I felt like a character in a movie where it all hit me at the same time as the camera pans in on my face. And I thought, oh no, that is terrible. That is about the worst thing. I just got a long message from a listener, actually, who has been in the media before around Omaha, and person said, like, basically at that point in time, the win probability had already decreased into the 25% range. This is kind of like a Bill Buckner play where people will remember it maybe for more than it was at the time. I certainly thought Iowa was going to win there, but it sucked that what went from it's a 3-point game. Let's see what happens if they play some defense here. Can things get interesting? After that, there was literally no chance, because I imagine, if you guys have talked about, they didn't have any fouls, so they couldn't put him on the free throw line. They had to play weird defense, even though there was but a minute or so to go in the game.
The thing that Schaefer and I were just sort of talking about is, I think Iowa's probably going to win. I just can't make any sense of it. I can't figure out why it happened. It doesn't. There's no like reason. There was no like cracks in the system that would have led me to believe that this was even remotely possible. It's possibly the worst. Like the Buckner play is a baseball error. It's a horrible play, but it's a baseball error. And yeah, you could make the case that all the baseball errors are mental errors or whatever. But I can't understand how a guy just doesn't walk onto the floor. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't make heads or tails of it.
Yeah, I have not watched any of the post game, so I don't know the what Hoiberg said or what his answer was. But he cut the question off and was like, "I'll take full responsibility for that. Okay. That's on me. I'm the coach." I figured
we never really got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So because we're not going to get the full explanation, right? Unless somebody behind the scenes or a player owns up to it. Because I've been trying to figure out how that happens. Because you're right. Like, I can explain how a Buckner play happens. I watch baseball. Those types of plays happen all the time.
You famously watch baseball. You were watching it last night.
I watched the Mariners go down to the Guardians. Tip of the cap to you, Schaefer, on your team's 1-0 start. My Mariners are doing tough. But in all seriousness, like, I understand that play. It happens all the time. Don't understand 4 players on the court. It doesn't happen all the time. So I would say that was, of course, the first thing. And then definitely the debate. And once Schaefer went to bed, Jack made fun of him more. I do not understand Schaefer.
I heard it. I was not asleep.
Yeah. I don't understand Schaefer's opinion on.
He wouldn't say it to me to my face, but he
well, he did. To be fair, he did. He did say it to your face, and then he just emphasized it a little more. I don't understand that opinion. The comparison that I came up right after Schaefer went up, and I wish that I would have said this on the air, so I'll say it to him now. Schaefer, you would be fine with losing to the Packers in the NFC Championship, and you'd be like, well, at least we made it there, instead of like any other team that you don't despise with every fiber of your being. I really do think, both of you, I'll say this to both of you, I think there is something about the Nebraska fan that truly hates Iowa to their core, and this is the end-all, be-all rivalry, and everybody that just, I guess, doesn't get it and doesn't have that exact same vitriol. We're like, yeah, they're annoying and I don't like them, but, oh, well, it is what it is. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Packers saying, like, absolutely, it would be crushing in the sense that, again, it'd be another NFC Championship loss. A lot of this for me is like, I don't think about the opponent as much as I think about my own team. Like, I cannot stress this enough. It's not the fact that the other team won. Like, that's the part of it. Like, it's the fact that my team is no longer playing. That is where everything comes in for me. The idea that they own you or hold it over you, or that you'll think about this season and then you'll think about how Iowa beat them or whatever. I can't get there mentally because that's not how I think about sports. Like, I don't, and maybe it's just, again, I have many, many, many years of processing just debilitating postseason losses to a multitude of different teams, some in the same division, some in other divisions, some in the final game of the World Series in an entirely different conference. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it just does not register to me on the same level that it does to other people. And it's not that I don't find Iowa annoying or that this entire cycle of Nebraska and Iowa annoying. It's just that I can't make myself think that it matters more that Iowa beat Nebraska, because what matters the most for me, full stop, is that the season is over. And regardless of how you get there and regardless of who it is, that is the process of where I'm at. And so I'm always just dumbfounded because I don't care that the other team won. Like, I don't know, like, maybe that's the divide here. I don't care that Iowa won. I care that Nebraska lost. That situation is the same if you remove the Iowa equation. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I would say this, like, I'm with Schaefer like halfway through this, where it's like, yeah, I don't understand the people who are like, no, I really don't want to play Iowa in this game. Like, I think Nebraska is confident and all those different things. I do, however, think it makes it worse to lose to them. I don't think it doesn't rise to the point where you're like, I don't want to play them so bad where I don't even want to be in the game, which is a crazy, ridiculous thing that apparently people are saying out there. It doesn't make any sort of sense to me. Of course, you'd rather take NCAA tournament wins. It definitely makes it worse, though. There's no doubt about it. But it's not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, I mean, like, I would just rather play. I would rather just lose in the round of 32 and not get to the Sweet 16. Like, that's
I'm going right in between, but like that phrase, and just say, okay, why can't it just be like, what if Florida would have won? Like, that's the better world, like, right, where it's like Florida doesn't get upset by Iowa and then you don't lose to Iowa. I guess I understand, Schaefer. Like, yeah, you're mad that your team lost. I totally understand that thought process.
But in that world where Florida wins, Nebraska, like, you're already going into that game thinking Nebraska is going to lose. The reason, like, this whole conversation starts.
And yes, that's the reason this hurts more, is you thought you could go to the Elite Eight and now you can't.
Right. And so this whole conversation starts with, where do you want to go? You want to go to the next round. Your best chance to go to the next round was playing Iowa. You didn't win that game. Like, there's part of it that, yes, it's Iowa, but part of it is you lost as a favorite. You lost as a team that you'd already beaten. You lost to a team that you thought was less than Florida, which they had beaten, and less than you. Like, there's that part of this equation. It's just, there's so much of this that it's just Iowa that I just can't get on board with all of it. Like, I can accept that people are crestfallen that Iowa is a team that took them out, but the whole conversation since Sunday night has been sort of insanity on some level to me. And
Well, in the end, though, they were right.
We all
In the
think
end, they
about
were
these
right,
things
though.
differently. Well,
You know?
yeah. Well, in the end, that Nebraska lost. Like,
But that's
again,
what I'm saying. Like
the same
they
thing.
were worried. They were worried. Like, man, it would
Sure.
suck if Iowa beats us and ruins the season. And that part of the fan base ended up being 100% true. They played out that way, sadly. So, I'm not to say they're vindicated or not, but I understand.
Well, there's
like,
nothing to
this is
vindicate.
terrible.
You either win or lose a game.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's not. Come on, Schaefer. Like, it's not a zero sum. Like, it's not a binary thing. Like,
No,
loss,
I mean,
some
I get
loss
that,
is
but,
still
like,
better.
There's no way to be vindicated if the scenario plays out in a different way. So I guess, look, the worst part of this entire thing is that Iowa ends up in the same draw as Nebraska. I mean, if we're going to draw it all the way back to that. So it's just, I can't get there. I can accept that other people can. I don't see how this, I don't think I would feel any different. Genuinely don't think I would feel any different today had Nebraska lost to Florida.
Let me ask both of you this then. What if Nebraska was the 9 and Iowa was the 4? Like, I think that dramatically changes the picture.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of this. I think that's kind of what I was getting at, is you thought that you were better than this team. And then you add in the Iowa piece and it extrapolates it further. But that's also why it felt like, the huge opportunity was in front of you when they beat Florida.
Wasn't that the other part of this baggage, too? It's not just that you lost to Iowa, but that it's your best team ever that lost to Iowa. It'd be like, because I think you're right, Happer. Like a 9 losing to a 4, like that's just classic rivalry. Like, oh, man. Can't believe, like, if Iowa would have lost to Nebraska, that's how they would have, warmed their hearts. Well, they were supposed to beat us. We weren't supposed to even be in this game. But if you lose as a 9 versus a 4 as a Nebraska fan, you're like, yeah, that sucks. I'm mad at Iowa. But at least my best season ever wasn't torpedoed in the way that it was.
Josh, I want to ask you a few minutes left with Josh Peterson here, courtesy of Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, is down in Houston covering Nebraska. Josh, what was yesterday like? The lead up to yesterday? I mean, there were so many stories from Oklahoma City last week. I saw a bunch of the pictures that you did. You could check those out at 1620 The Zone. Looked like a pretty good environment, in the lead up to the game, if we could somehow separate the lead up to the game from the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. It's different, definitely, than last week. I imagine Schaefer talked about it this morning, and he was certainly more out and about before the game when I was finishing up on sportsmanlike conduct. But it was cool. And then he got in, and I saw a million tweets. What the hell's up with those benches? Why is it empty over there? Where is everybody? And it's just the way that it's set up, right, for the Sweet 16. And you get settled in, and Schaefer and I, we had quite the view from upstairs, and you're just kind of looking around, and you're trying to figure out if the red is Houston red or if the red is Nebraska red. And then the 12-2 start happens, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of Nebraska red that's in here, and they were making a lot of noise. I mean, it's certainly because of the city, it's not going to have the loss, it's not going to have the same reverence as the Oklahoma City trip did. But I thought it was pretty cool to see all these people turn around on such short notice and get down here. Like, one of the weirdest insults I saw yesterday was from a bunch of Illinois fans saying that Husker fans are unemployed. And it's like, yeah, that's why you're not working today, because you're at the game. And it's like, I don't know if you realize how expensive this trip was for those of us in Nebraska. So very strange in that regard, but it was cool. I mean, this is a couple of week stretch for me personally and professionally, mainly professionally, that I am never going to forget. I've never had a chance to do something like this in back-to-back weeks, covering a team and following them along and seeing everybody. So it was cool. It's going to be hard, though, to separate, I'm guessing, for everybody, the atmosphere versus the actual result on the court.
Yeah. It's a tough way to go. That's for sure last night. All right, Josh, is anything else? I mean, good luck at the Houston TSA line today. I mean,
yeah. First thing I did when I woke up, I rolled over. I thought, wow, we stayed up way too late watching that movie. So that was my first thought. And then I thought, oh, man, Nebraska lost. That was my second thought. And then I was like, I should check the TSA wait time and see where we're looking at right now. When I checked, it said 210 minutes. So I believe us leaving right after Happer and Schaefer finishes up. I assume Schaefer isn't doing the crossover again today.
That's fine.
I don't know if we're leaving directly after, but within that time
I assume you gotta finish up. So hopefully we're out of here by 10 or so and get to the airport and make sure everything is charged. I have my charging block somewhere. It's going to be at 100%. I'll make sure that my phone is ready to go, and then I'll stand in line. I'll listen to podcasts while I stand next to Mike Schaefer for 4 hours.
What's going on Unsportsmanlike Conduct today? What's happening on that show?
I have no idea. I sent a group text to both of our bosses, to Schaefer and to John. Nobody responded. We eventually got a hold of one of our bosses, and thankfully she was very supportive, and then our other boss was very supportive. And John was like, sounds good, we'll record Movie Club. So we're going to record Movie Club in 20 minutes, so that will be live later today, everybody. And then I have no idea. I'm guessing it's just going to be solo. Is he at the ballpark? Is there a Jays game today?
He will be at the ballpark because we're doing a baseball broadcast together tonight. Yes.
All right. So maybe he'll try to rope you in for a couple segments at the very end of the show. Thankfully, the show's off at 5. There we go. It's off at 5, so that will happen. And then it's time to turn the page, everybody. Football season is here. The spring game. Lots of spring game coverage, I would assume, on the Grum today.
All right, Josh. Well, thanks. Great job down there. Safe trip back. Please, good luck. I do really want, if there's some updates you could throw along, I would really love to see some updates from the TSA line. I can't get enough.
Absolutely. Ooh, can we get some more videos brought to you by our great friends at Huskers live from the Houston airport?
I think that would be fantastic. I would watch that content. I'll be watching that content this afternoon. All right, Josh, thanks.
Bye, guys.
That is Josh Peterson on behalf of Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill. The content all at 1620 The Zone on Twitter, on Josh's Twitter feed this week, and the I-80 Club as well. All right, Schaefer, let's take a break. We will come back. Friday shout-outs. Who's got them? Friday shout-outs. Send them in at Happen Schaefer on Twitter. Hashtag Friday shout-outs. We will shout out whatever you would like. I know this is a very interesting and dangerous time to do Friday shout outs. People will be wanting to shout out a variety of different things, but we love shout outs. We'll do that to round out the 8 o'clock hour. Coming back on 1620 The Zone. All right, it's time for Friday shout-outs. Who doesn't love a shout-out on the radio? No, this isn't 1996. This is 2026. And everyone still loves shout-out on the radio. It will never die. The tradition will never die until radio dies, which who knows when that could be.
Never.
We want to hear from you all, whether it's 402-951-1620 or tweeting at @HappenSchafe. We have a few Friday shout-outs in already via the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
I'd love to give a shout out to start things off here.
Schaefer, yes, absolutely.
Ooh. I want to give a shout out to a number of the people that I saw over at Tom's Watch Bar where the alumni event was yesterday. And a lot of people, I was wearing my 1620 shirt, so it made me an easy target. But a lot of people came up and were talking to me about enjoying this show, enjoying Happer. I had someone tell me that he was a regular lunchtime listener of Happer. And he's like, I'd follow him anywhere. And so when Happer moved to the morning, he became a breakfast and a commuter listener of Happer and Schaefer. So that was a great conversation. Multiple people from in central Nebraska that are enjoying the 1620, the Zone Network, and everything that we have going on out there. And so it was an awesome experience, very different than Oklahoma City, but the people that were there in Houston were committed. They were having a great time. Unfortunately, Nebraska came up short, but just the amount of people that traveled from Nebraska that just like jumped in a car on Wednesday and like, I want to come down to this. I just want to be a part of it. I don't have a ticket yet. And then there were so many people that had access to tickets that were like trying to line it up with other people and weren't gouging them. And there was just an awesome display of the Nebraska fandom community in Houston to make that and to sort of be the loudest team that was there that wasn't from the actual city, it is remarkable. So I just wanted to start it off with that.
It's so cool. And thank you, Schaefer. Yes. And thank you to whoever is saying these nice things about me or us or the entire thing. It's shout out to you. But it's always so cool on the tougher to get to places, for these road trips or whatever. It's always like just a small pack, a very emotionally invested pack of like diehards. And that's all. Like that's part of the reason why I'm looking so forward to going to the crowd next week, to be honest with you. It's just going to be a really tight knit group of Creighton fans who are willing to, who are excited to send off Mac and do that entire thing. All right, here's some shout outs on the Equitable Bank inbox. Chris says, shout out to Kevin McGonigal of the Detroit Tigers, 4 hits in his MLB debut at age 21 yesterday. Wow. The Tigers have another good player. Sad. Disappointing. For the 402, shout out to Lauren Jensen. Friday shout out to Lauren Jensen, a former Iowa Hawkeye turned Blue Jay who actually beat her former team in the NCAA tournament. Ouch. That's tough. Like I said, we're still shouting things out. Pedro, hi guys. Shout out to Hunter and Anne Marie. Their first week as husband and wife, have a great marriage and a wonderful sports life together. GBR football. That's what Pedro says.
A great one. Good shout out.
Whopper writes in. Shout out Norbit, please. You got it. Shout out Norbit. Mustache Adam writes in. I want to shout out Nebraska ball fans. As a Jays fan who was sincerely rooting for Nebraska last night, I was hoping they would not have to endure a painful loss like the 2023 Elite Eight game, but alas, shout out to an amazing season and a great run. And there's that epic picture of the burger across from the Burger King at 120th and Center of those guys, just sharing their mutual love, of course, for each other. Let's see.
I got a few over here if you want me to.
Send them my way. Go ahead.
This comes from a Michael on Twitter. I'd like to shout out California Pizza Kitchen for always being there for me when I am in the Costa Rica airport.
Oh boy.
So, here's a shout out from Josh. Shout out Iowa for committing 1 foul and a half, season low, and 7 in a game, season low by 4. Definitely played a clean game, and it wasn't bad officiating.
I love it when teams play clean basketball games. Speaking of clean basketball games, here's one from Blue Jay Bobby J. Shout out to Adam Woodbury this morning, most electric player in Iowa basketball history. He was, I believe, the one who was famously known for poking people's eyes.
Yeah, I was gonna
out.
say, bestly known for just jabbing people in the eyes. Did it twice in like a week span. Jeremy Fears of Eyes, they say.
Liquid Trucking writes in. Shout out to our training graduates at Liquid Trucking, our friends at Liquid Trucking. Shout out them and all their graduates of their training programs. Yeah, I got that one. The shout out to the Iowa for not committing any fouls.
How about a shout out to Kent Pavelka for calling such a historic season for Nebraska men's basketball?
Good one. Shout out to Kent.
His close last night was tough. Felt bad for him. If you heard it, that's a guy who has experienced so much. I don't know what his future is when we talk about the future of Nebraska basketball as well. He got this experience here, and it was if you haven't heard the close to last night's broadcast, you should go find it.
A couple more Happer's Beam guys. Shout out to all the people who are out there in no way, shape, or form thinking about the spring game. It's still March, and there's still a football practice for a dead football program. Also, John says, shout out to Paul Skeens and his current 67.5 ERA. What a hot start to the season. Okay, we got to go. Take a break after this on 1620 Zone. All right, welcome back. 9 o'clock hour of Happer and Schaefer here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer with you. A few things to remind you of before we get to a phone call here. Lawn makeover from Roberts Nursery Landscape and Lawn. You could win a $10,000 backyard makeover with their outdoor upgrade right now. You head to 1620thezone.com, register for your chance to win once again. That is a $10,000 outdoor upgrade courtesy of Roberts Nursery Landscape and Lawn. Just enter at 1620thezone.com. There's the Omaha food fight going on. There's McMaster's matchup on 1620thezone.com, and our zone deal just went on sale, of course, because it is Friday at 9 o'clock. All right. Let's take a phone call from you all. We're talking about Nebraska and Iowa from last night. 402-951-1620 in the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here's David, who's been waiting patiently for a while. Hi, David.
Hey, David. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. You're David, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, good.
So yeah, with Schaefer, man, I feel like Dr. Evil, like you just don't get it. You just don't get it, do you, Scotty?
I might not
get it, Schaefer. Because we had the lead for most of the game, and to lose it again, it's just so reminiscent of what's happening to us with Iowa. And then also, this is the game that was supposed to break the curse. So, whether or not we lost to Florida, the fact that it's Iowa, it does hurt more. So, and then the other thing
curse against Iowa in all sports, or like what curse? Because there was no curse talk until after the game.
Oh, there's a curse. There was a curse before. Once we got scheduled for them, this was the game that if we beat Iowa, this was going to break the football curse as well. Everyone knows that.
I apologize. I missed that one.
Yeah, Schaefer, you may be behind on that one, but
I'm behind on a lot.
I don't get it here. But no. Also, I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about the defense? I feel like with Bennett Sturts, they were like letting him just basically drive into the lane, like they were like having him off, and he was getting straight to the lane, and then they'd kick it out and they would swing it and hit threes. I was just wondering what your thoughts on the strategy was for that.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Thanks for the call, David. Appreciate it. Let's. The first thing is first. I did not know that the game last night was the game to break the curse either.
Thank God. I thought I was on an island all by myself again. Like this
I
was
wasn't
one of those
aware.
big internet stories that I missed out on. Like,
but Schaefer, like you, sometimes I miss stuff. I don't know.
You don't miss a whole lot. You're in there. You know what's going on.
I do pay. I was definitely paying attention to the internet last night. I will say that. So I did not know that that was being built as the curse breaker game. But it was another opportunity to beat Iowa. And Nebraska ultimately failed to take advantage of that opportunity with some late game miscues and things like that. Yeah, defensively, what did you think of Nebraska last night?
I guess, again, and smarter basketball people than me would know, but it kind of felt like some of the idea was you'd sort of try to get Bennett Sturts to go in there, collapse on him, and then you're trying to tip the ball out as he's trying to kick it out. Like you're sort of baiting him into this open space into the middle and seeing if he takes the bait, and then you're trying to collapse on it when he's in there. That's sort of what it felt like to me. To try to get him to drive in, and then if he gets to a spot where he's either going to try to put it up or kick it out, and you kind of have your defense around it at that point. They didn't really take it. I mean, he would go in there, but then he was smart enough to be able to not get himself into spots where he wouldn't be able to move the ball. I mean, they're just we've talked about this before. Nebraska's goal in every game is 25 tips on defense. There's no way they even got to 15 last night. Like they couldn't get their hand on passes. Iowa did such a good job. And even their skip passes were really well done. Like they didn't put themselves in those bad spots. And so I think it felt like Nebraska wanted Iowa to play a certain way, and Iowa saw the trap and just avoided it. That's how I would describe it. But again, I'm not going to pretend like I'm Mr. Greaseboard when it comes to basketball.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before in the show. I mean, I just thought, a lot of this too is, and it's hard to know how much of a percentage is whatever, because, it's a basketball game and it comes down to the results of it. But like, I just thought Sturts was terrific. I mean, Sturts was Early
These
in
are the
game,
best of the 3 games he's played in the tournament, and it's not close.
yeah, like in the first 15, 20 minutes of that game, first half, you're right. He would sort of get into that middle, inside the 3-point line, outside the paint sort of area, wait for people to collapse on him, and then stagger movement, but like behind the back pass or no look pass, or Iowa would spray it out, and they would take those threes and they would make them. And Nebraska was doing the same thing that it always had done against them, where it was just, we're gonna bet that they don't make 13 out of 33s, and they made 13 out of 33s. And so if you want to boil it down to something as simple as that, I think that's a little bit oversimplistic, but certainly that was the difference for Iowa, more so than it had been for almost any other game this entire year, to your point from earlier, Schaefer. With that being said, I've said this all year about Nebraska. They were always going to be liable to give that up. That's just how they're designed. That's just how they're built. I didn't think their closeouts were any worse than they have been throughout the entire season. I thought they had great energy. I thought they played with teeth. I thought they controlled the boards. Like, they did a really nice job. And usually those are the things where you lose your edge on defense. I thought Nebraska had an edge. I just thought that Iowa kind of beat it,
Right. And that just goes back to the making of shots and some of it. And Nebraska knows that that's where they're susceptible. That's where they can get beat. That's why teams with the high efficiency offenses like Illinois and Purdue pose such challenges, because they have the ability to get those shooters in the corner, make the right passes, not have it turn over, and then finish with those sort of corner threes, which, they always talk about are the super high percentage 3-point shots. And so Iowa did a great job. And you knew coming in, like, they were making those corner threes. Their game winner against Florida, corner three. Like, that's part of Iowa's game. Nebraska was betting that Iowa wasn't going to have a 13 3-pointer game, for the night. And so it was a bet, and Nebraska ultimately came up on the losing end of it. And still, I come back to this, like, Nebraska's defense was what it was, and Iowa shot great. And I just keep coming back to Rink Mast and Sam Hoiberg and Jamarcus Lawrence didn't do enough for Nebraska to win this game. I mean, not just those three. I mean, there's other guys that could have had opportunities to do more too. But one of the things that we haven't really spent enough time on today, and there's really only so much you can talk about when the team loses, Sanford was incredible. Like, they got the version of Sanford that you dream of, and you got Frager playing a great game, and there was not the third player. And so much of Nebraska's success is predicated on, you have these guys that, you're going to get a good performance here, and you're going to get a good performance here. And usually if you get 3 of those guys or 4 of those guys, you're in a great chance to win a game. They couldn't get that third player. They just didn't have someone else that was able to impact the game offensively in the way that they needed. And Iowa had 4 guys that could do it. Nebraska had 2.
Yeah.
And Sanford, again, that was an outstanding performance, and it goes down in a loss because there just wasn't enough else on Nebraska's offensive end.
Yeah, and when Nebraska collapsed late in the game, it was less so of trying to find that third scorer and more so like, are our guys who aren't named Price Sanford actually hurting us right now? And I, that there was a little
lot
bit
of felt like 1-on-5 sets for Nebraska offensively at times.
Yeah,
at the end of that game.
And that's probably something worth evaluating. Do you want to keep running? It just felt like they kept running, Sanford up and trying to get him off a catch, and he's going to be shooting a contested 3. Is that your best option to draw? Do you want to, create some counters off of that late in the game? I mean, they'll go back and watch the last 6 minutes of the game, and probably not like some of the decisions that they made would be my guess, and not just on the floor, but as far as what you're drawing up as well. Let's take another phone call here on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline before we get to our good friend Jake Sorensen. Here's Ben. Hi, Ben. Good morning.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Just a few things. I guess I was worried going into last night just based off of, I think CBS Sports released a deal. It was yesterday or the day before, I don't know, sometime before the game, but about the last 10 Nebraska-Iowa basketball games, and you look at the score, and I was telling buddies at work, I'd rather play anybody in this Sweet 16 matchup than Iowa, because I had a bad feeling going into it, and they're calling me crazy that you'd rather play Florida. I would have rather gotten beat by 80 points to Florida than lose a Sweet 16 matchup to Iowa. Somebody talked about a curse. I think the caller before me, I don't think it's a curse necessarily, but I mean, is it ironic that, you lead for 36 and some change and then show Matt Rule in the stands, and then we, urinate down the leg and lose the game? I don't know.
But hey, Ben,
my call guy.
Look,
Yes,
can I ask you this? How cool would it have been to beat Iowa?
Oh, it would have been fantastic. I would have been, running laps around my neighborhood.
So you don't mind the matchup. You just hate the outcome. You just hate the fact that Nebraska lost the game.
To Iowa. If it was anybody
Iowa.
else, it would have been fine. Yeah, absolutely. And had we beat them, I probably would have had the same reaction that I would have, had it been Florida or anybody else.
Oh, it's got to be more when you beat Iowa, right? If it means so much, if it means so much more when you lose to them, it's got to mean more when you beat them too, right?
You're probably not wrong. It's just so gut wrenching to end your season every single year, football, and then now this year basketball, and you lose to Iowa. I can't stand those Hawkeyes.
There's no doubt about that. Thanks for the call, Ben. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. It absolutely makes it more painful. There's no doubt. But I think there's a bunch of different, varying, slightly varying opinions on this entire thing. I didn't even want the matchup. I hated to see them there and all those different things. Like I said, for how miserable it is to lose to specifically them in the Sweet 16 in particular, it would have been more gratifying that it was miserable in this situation to beat them in that game. So you want the matchup. The reward is greater than the risk, in my opinion. That's what I would say.
Yeah, look, I get it. I don't have anything else I can really add on this. I mean, I've said everything I can on where it was at for me and what this loss was. And, the bummer continually is that the season is over. I mean, it's an incredible run. You had an opportunity to get to the Elite Eight where you would have played another team. I mean, we haven't spent probably enough time on that. You'd have played another team that you had already played twice this year and had beaten. And so, one of the remarkable things about this year is Nebraska lost, 7 games? And all 7 were to Big Ten teams, which I think, if anything, what Illinois did to Houston concludes the idea that the Big Ten has had a remarkable year in basketball, and Nebraska finished second in that conference. Just a really, really strong showing at Purdue and Illinois and Iowa are all in the Elite Eight. You're guaranteed at least one Final Four team. We'll see what happens with Michigan, but just an incredible year for the Big Ten.
Michigan State's also still going.
Forgot about Michigan State.
Yeah, they're still alive. I don't like Purdue's chances against Arizona, but that's just me at this point. All right, one more phone call before we get to Jake. Here's Doug on the line. Hi, Doug. Good morning.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Just 2 quick thoughts. One is their playmaker always had the ball in his hands, bringing the court up, so he was able to quarterback things. Our playmakers were more off the ball players, which is just one thought. The other thought is, hey, it did stink to lose to Iowa, but we won the regular season versus them in the fact that we finished second in a really tough conference. And I know that's something the Creighton fans always talk about, how they finished in the Big East. So I just want to bring that up. Nebraska finished second in the Big Ten, had a great regular season. So, I think going forward, it's going to be a back and forth thing with Iowa. It's completely different than other sports. So.
Okay. Thank you for the call, Doug. Appreciate it. To be clear, Nebraska went 1-1 against Iowa in the regular season.
You meant they finished higher in the standing, so they won because of that.
Okay. Yes.
I understand where he's coming from. I don't know that it's what I subscribe to in that sense, but I get where he's coming from. And at the same point that I was sort of saying there, I mean, finishing second in the Big Ten, when you look at what this conference has done in the postseason play relative to the sort of 20-year run of just terribleness, it's pretty good.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, obviously. And you'll get to, hang a banner and do the thing next year where you say, we went to the Sweet 16, and Fred said it last night. He's like, it'll be a big party, when we do that. And it most certainly will. But there will be, you will always, I mean, you will always think about the end when you think about this season. That's just a part of it. That's just a part of how much it sucks to lose in the NCAA tournament. It sucks. It's awful, and you'll always think about it, and that's the way it was going to be for literally everybody except for probably Arizona at this point, or Duke or Michigan or whoever ends up winning the national championship.
Yeah, no, I only one team gets to leave without the devastating feeling. So, I mean, that's just that's the nature of the tournament. And I'm fascinated what my interest level in I'm still gonna watch, but it's like there's gonna be a detachment from it that I can already sense setting in. Like it's gonna be on, but the emotional investment is not gonna be there.
So we'll see. Maybe you need a day off from basketball or two, and then get back ready to go for the Final Four. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Jake Sorensen, man. If Schaefer, if you were already sick of the Iowa conversation, well, I got bad news for you. We're gonna have to talk to our dear friend Jake.
I just want to know that he's alive. That's all I want. I saw him doing radio, so
he's doing radio. He's alive, and we'll talk to him next on 1620 The Zone.
I'm kind of psychotic. So what else is new? I think you guys both know that my psychology is probably really can't assess how it operates. I don't even know how my brain works at all most days either. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, guys. We have not won a playoff game in 25 years. I don't believe ever in moral victories because they're a waste of time. My whole life would be a moral victory at that point. You're going to lose. It's the way sports go. It's very hard to go undefeated. I got the Royals going to the World Series this year. I don't care. I will follow this team wherever they go, and I will not complain about where they play. I don't want them to lose a game, but I kind of want to lose a game for the sake of
Jake
pressure.
Sorensen for losing.
Fridays with Jake Sorensen.
If I see him, I would not shake his hand.
93.7 The Ticket on Happer and Schaefer. 1620 The Zone.
We do morning show, guys. We're always on low sleep. It's the way it is.
Well, one way or the other, it was going to likely end in pain. Like the song, Jake, from Billy Joel, it's either sadness or euphoria. And today it is sadness. Good morning, Jake.
Hey, guys. Happer, good to talk to you. I wish I was in better spirits, but that's just not possible.
Did listening to your own open make you laugh at least? Because I have to say, it's one of the treats. It's one of the treats every Friday. It's just the various statements of you just being played back, and even without context, they're just amazing every time. They really are.
Yeah, I will say that in this morning of darkness, that was a nice. I do enjoy the open, so thank you for
good work, Joey. Great job.
If you could somehow separate all these things, I want you to rank which one makes you the most sad. Okay, so losing
sounds fun.
Losing to mad or whatever it is. Losing to Iowa, losing to a 9 seed, having a chance to potentially go to the Final Four with Illinois in front of Nebraska tonight. Like all of those are kind of sitting there, and they would all anger me greatly if I'm connected to this emotionally. I assume they do to you. Which one triggers you the most?
Well, there's only one, and it's losing to Iowa. I don't really care about the 9 seed or, obviously you want to go as far as you can. That's the point of the tournament. But this is why, I understand fan sentiment about wanting to have played Iowa because, yes, they are the 9 seed if you know them and they're beatable versus, instead of 1 seed or Florida, excuse me. But this is the worst possible outcome. I don't sit here in complete sadness and misery this morning if you've lost to Florida. I say, all right, 1 seed, you made it to the second weekend. Yeah, we wanted to go further, but I can take it and say I had a great time in Houston. Like I'm just dead pain right now. This is horrible losing to Iowa of all the teams. Like we all know the dominance over Nebraska in football and the other sports. And like this is your chance to have, hey, this could be the biggest win of all of these games that you continue to beat us in. And no, you still beat us again. It never ends. And the win was nice in Lincoln to end the year. Obviously went to overtime. That was unfortunate, did that, but you won. And they win the rubber match of all things. And we cannot beat Iowa. They own us. And I'm sick of it. So to answer the question, none of the other ones matter. There's no ranking. There's no 2, 3, 4. It's just 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. The Iowa fans. And now Iowa fans are walking by me right now. They're just they're tackling at me. Yeah, in the hotel. Yeah,
it never ends.
It
never ends.
4 to me. They just yelled 4 in the court. Just got chastised by Iowa fans. I'm sitting here in the hotel lobby.
You are, Jake, the preeminent Iowa hater. I mean, it's been this way for basically as long as I've known you. You are the number one Iowa hater. So I expected you to sort of feel this way. And I admittedly watched your immediate reaction video last night, and you immediately kind of went.
Oh, I missed this.
Yeah, it's good.
I just saw the "I'm walking home" tweet, and
media actually took about 45 minutes to put it out there. Because here's what happened. I want to take you through this last night. The game's over. I'm in the stands for this game, and I literally, I did send out 2 quick tweets, but otherwise, I sat in my seat and I just stared into the abyss for 30 minutes. I didn't move. I didn't talk to anybody. I just sat and stared. Like, I sat so long that I think the tip-off was happening. I finally moved away from my seat for Illinois-Houston.
Yeah, it's a tough
then
one
I
to
recorded
swallow.
that video. So I had all this time to think about it, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, you were distraught. Schaefer, what do you have for our friend Jake?
Well, I guess I don't know how much he wants to relive the basketball game, but I mean,
Let's do it. Come on, let's do it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
All right. Well, we'll dive into it. What was the big difference for you in this and other Iowa games? I'll give you a nice little pitch right down the middle here.
Well, let's go back to the first Iowa game in mid-February. Of course, Iowa wins that game 57-52, and at that point, it was the Bennett Sturtz show. He didn't have a lot of help from anybody. He had to take 20-plus shots in that game because nobody was wanting to take shots or making them. And then all of a sudden, this is a team that also, before they played Nebraska and Lincoln, had lost at Penn State and lost at Maryland, two terrible teams in our conference. You thought, okay, this is, they're a good team, but they have some issues away from home. And then they played Nebraska well in Lincoln. Of course, it was a 10-point game, most of it, but they forced overtime and lost by 9. But you saw the help from Cooper Koch and Fulgaris, and in that game, Combs was good. And then last night, they hit 13 threes. They had 38 points off the bench. Like Tate Sage, we see that, averaging 5-6 points a game. He's had a couple big games. He had, I think, 13 against Illinois in their loss in January. He goes for 19. And he looks comfortable doing so. That the shot at halftime was just devastating. I mean, you put up 46 points against Iowa in a half and led by 3. That was concerning to begin with the defensive problems. But no, it's seeing Fulgaris get his confidence in Cooper Koch. He's to shoot the ball well in Sage. And Sturtz finally has help. An elite point guard finally is getting help. And that's why Iowa definitely could be Illinois. I'm not picking it, but they absolutely can make their way to Indy because their coach is incredible. He's a Signetti now of college basketball, apparently, and that's the guy to our east. Apparently,
Wow!
More Iowa pain, and I like the guy. I respect it. I like the column.
Okay, I didn't know we were back to me because I had asked that question.
It seemed like you had a reaction to that.
Oh no, it was the Signetti thing. I'm not ready to go there. I don't think Iowa is going to go win the national championship next year. But all right, well here's the other thing. I want to ask this because I was going to ask Josh Peterson. We ran out of time, but what did you think of that Price Sanford performance? Because we talked about that Nebraska needed to get a big game from him. We talked about how they needed to start fast. Ultimately, the rest of the guys around Nebraska is sort of the reverse. Bennett Sturtz didn't have help in some of those other games, and now Price Sanford needed other guys to step up. I thought Jake, he had more points in other games. This might have been the best performance we saw from him all year. Like, in the context of what it was and what it meant for him personally, Sanford was just incredible last night.
So Price was, exceptional in the blowout of Troy. That was obviously big to get that, that monkey off your back and see him play well in the tournament. He was okay against Vanderbilt. Didn't have a lot of space. He was good. But yeah, you're right. I mean, with the context of this is a guy that, of course, we all know went to Iowa, had the bleep Price Sanford chanted him at the Iowa game. Comes back, plays well against them in Lincoln. Then 25 points, 6 of 10 on threes. Didn't have a lot of space. Wasn't like he was getting open shots. No. They still guarded him tough like they did both games. He made 6 of 10. Now, he missed a critical layup in the second half, but, that happens, and that was unfortunate, but still. And I know he was shaking his wrist when he was diving for that ball after the turnover. I was hoping that wouldn't affect him. I don't think it did the rest of the game. Maybe the broadcast felt differently, but in the stand, I didn't think it affected him the rest of the game. But he was great. I mean, Nebraska had a chance to win because of him. You can't survive 0-7 on Rink for threes, and certainly you all know the situation with the 4 guys in the court, which is just terrible off a timeout with under a minute to go. But no, Price Sanford was exceptional. He gave Nebraska every chance to win, and if they had won that game and he's playing like that, they definitely could beat the next opponent in Illinois, or if it had been Houston who had won.
Did you notice, Jake, the 4 people on the floor when it was happening?
No, I did not. I saw. I was sitting on. The Iowa bench. I was on the same baseline, but like the other side of the hoop, essentially. So
okay.
I was not like getting a court side, or I was getting just baseline view. So I didn't really notice that. And then someone told me, hey, they only had 4 guys, and so I point, like, yeah, they did. I mean, they to have that kind of outlet pass, major head up, kudos to heads up for McCollum and the team for making that play. But I did not see that in the moment, and it's devastating. After a big three by Frager too.
So this, and we've been talking about this all morning. Like, it's so difficult because I don't know what to attribute it to. I don't know whose fault it is. I know Fred took credit after, or took responsibility, I suppose, after the game. It didn't really seem like there was anything odd about the timeout or anything like that, other than Rink Mass just mindlessly sort of sitting down on the bench and then getting up late and realizing that it was on and going from there. What do we attribute this to? Like, it wasn't the reason Nebraska lost. They were going to have an uphill battle to win the game because it would have got into a foul situation at that point had they inbounded the ball successfully. Like, what are you thinking about the Iowa of it all? What afterwards in the aftermath of all this on that specific play?
Yeah, I think so. I mean. And here's the deal. Let's say I thought Berkey did a great job catching up that. If somehow he gets the foul and that ball doesn't go in, there's a chance Bulgaris does not make both free throws. And it's a 4-point game or a 5-point game at the most. And so unfortunately, he made the shot. But yeah, I mean, let's go back to Iowa's previous game. They overcame in that Florida win not only 0 of 9 Sturts on threes, but they missed 8 free throws. I mean, they were 14 of 22 on free throws against Florida. So, yeah, there's no guarantee they make their free throws at the end. And Nebraska certainly had to make shots and, went brick city the last 30 seconds, which is unfortunate. Yeah, you have to think about the what ifs. Now, I think Iowa still probably would have pulled out the win, but it gets a little more dramatic than it was if you simply have 5 guys in the court. Now, kudos, Ben McCollum is exceptional at inbounds plays. We saw it to end the half. We saw it in the win against Florida, getting the shot to Bulgaris. So he's a wizard with that, and I'm sure he could have overcame Nebraska's pressure, but that's stuff we don't know. It's hypothetical. And that's the unfortunate part, that became a 6-point game with 54 seconds to go because of just a criminal error by Nebraska's team, coaches, everybody involved is responsible for that situation.
It obviously wasn't Oklahoma City. I saw you out and about at the Tom's Watch Bar down there at the alumni event. What did you think of the support that Nebraska had in this regional here?
I thought it was good. I mean, like you said, I'm not sure you could ever compare to OKC simply just because it was drivable. The flights, these flights are so expensive going to Houston, especially just with the quick turnaround time on it. And I thought Nebraska fans showed up well. It was a great crowd. I didn't think that it had the same type of anger as, going to Iowa City or Lincoln, which is natural. But for a chance at the Elite Eight, you thought it might get nasty there. It never really got nasty. I had Iowa fans around me. I had Nebraska fans around me. It wasn't like you're going to those arenas and you're getting, FUs from the fans at Price. I never witnessed that. So it was a different feel to the game, but I thought it was a good showing by Husker fans. And I thought that Tom's Watch Bar was packed beyond belief. And once again, out of beer before the game, which is a testament to Nebraska fans who drink a crap ton of beer. But no, it was, you cannot compare it to OKC. It's just not fair. It was never going to be that, but I thought it was a good showing. And what I'm really bummed about, guys, selfishly, is that I was looking forward to winning this game, having the Iowa, having that win in your belt. And then I was going to go today after the show to watch the PGA Tour in town.
Yeah.
That's in town. And then I was going to go to the Astros game tonight.
Yeah.
I'm hopping on an 8 p.m. flight going back to Lincoln, going to Omaha, and I'm missing all of that.
Instead, you'll be waiting in a TSA
Iowa
line for like the next 8 to 12 hours.
Yeah, we're going to our flight's, I think, at 8:30 tonight. We're going to get to the airport, I think, no later than 1 p.m.
Oh my God.
I'll wave to you from the front of the line because I'll still be in it.
Are you? Where are you at? Are you there yet, Schaefer? Where are you at right now?
I'll be heading out to the airport in probably an hour. So our flight's at like 4:30.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a fun day of travel. I heard that Hobby was only like 10 minutes, but of course we're taking United flight from Bush, and that's the way it's going to be. But I'm missing out on watching golf.
Pain.
I could have watched our good friend Brooks Koepka. Koepka's playing today. I was going to go watch him.
Brooksy.
He's +5, so I missed the cut, but I'm not going to be able to see him.
Brooksy.
All right. Sounds like a good helping of pain, Jake. I'm sorry.
I love it.
Enjoy the
Oh,
rest
would
of
you
the day if you
let's
can.
let's ask him about the Royals. Ask him about the
Oh
Royals.
yeah,
It's opening
Royals
day for your team.
we know that you think the Royals are going to win the World Series, correct? Or get to the
Yeah.
World Series?
Win.
Okay, win the World Series. How many regular season wins are the Royals going to have this year?
We're going to go right at 91.
91 regular season wins. That wins them the division.
Oh, yeah, by a couple games over Detroit.
Okay, wins them the division. Then they
Schaefer's Guardians are probably looking at a 500 season. Not bad, but certainly not playoffs in Cleveland.
Okay, going through it, and then they get the Cubs in the World Series, and they beat them in how many games?
I was going to go with 7. I thought 6, but I'll make it a 7th game. Of course, the Royals will have the home field advantage for some reason, so it'll be in KC.
A Royals Cubs 7-game World Series would be almost as epic as an Iowa Nebraska Sweet 16 game around here. That would be horrible for everyone.
We need it. We need it like we need air right now.
All right, Jake. Safe travels. Enjoy your trip home. See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Jake Sorensen from The Ticket in Lincoln. You can hear his show each Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 in the morning. Let's take a break. We'll round things out, get Schaefer on the road, and we'll send you into the weekend on a Friday on 1620 The Zone. as if it wasn't bad enough, did you see the Texas A&M volleyball team get honored at halftime of the Nebraska-Iowa basketball game last night? Mike Schaefer obviously did. He was there. I can't hear you.
If I saw it, I don't remember it. Halftime's longer in the NCAA tournament.
It is.
And I didn't get a nap in yesterday, so I basically just sat there and was sort of sleeping while being alive at halftime, I think. So it was one of those where I just sat for 20 minutes, didn't really do anything, didn't process whatever was being said or what was happening there. Probably replayed the last minute of the first half where Nebraska's up 8 and then finishes up 3 about 7,000 times in that 20-minute sequence. But you could have told me when you started that, I was like, Texas A&M volleyball was there? I don't remember this.
Apparently, Lincoln Arneal, he was in the building.
He would know.
Yeah, he was there and he saw it. And so here's the kicker to the story. He wrote on Twitter, during halftime of the Nebraska-Iowa Sweet 16 men's basketball game in Houston, the NCAA recognized Texas A&M for winning the volleyball national championship. Of course, A&M took down Nebraska in the regional final in Lincoln. Danny Bestboom Kelly, also in attendance, responded to Lincoln's tweet and said, "Glad I was getting another beer."
Yeah, I thought she was there. That's pretty great.
She was apparently not the curse that Matt Rule was, but
she's fantastic. I really like her. She's a ton of fun. And she's great. She's
all right. We have 4 more games tonight after we get matched up with the other 2 from last night. So that sets up, by the way, Saturday, Iowa, Illinois at 5 in the South Region Championship game, and Purdue and Arizona in the West Region final on Saturday evening. The late game, 7:49 to be exact. So tonight, another round of Sweet 16 games. Pick a winner, Mike Schaefer. Duke, St. John's.
Give me St. John's.
Give me Duke. Alabama and Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, give me Michigan by a whole lot. Michigan State and Connecticut.
Michigan State.
Connecticut. And finally, give me either Tennessee
Iowa State
or Iowa State. I really like Iowa State too. Jefferson's a game time decision. I don't think it matters I don't think it super matters. If that makes sense. But yeah, I think I'm taking my boys. I got to ride my Iowa State guys all the way home.
So we're just opposite. We're the same in one entire region and completely opposite on the other. So
I believe that is correct. Yes.
St. John's, Michigan State for me, and Duke, UConn for you.
Yep. Duke and UConn, of course. Obviously everybody's on everybody's bracket, your South region, the region that Nebraska is in, is probably blown to smithereens.
It's the smelly, messy bracket.
Which
Nebraska was always in those in the bracket sims.
That's kind of what we thought, right? It was going to be the blow up region, and it was. And Nebraska was this close to taking it.
Didn't one of the sims have Iowa beating Nebraska too?
No, the last sim that we did before the tournament started had Nebraska beating Iowa.
Okay.
And then losing to Houston in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I thought we got a couple Nebraska Iowas from what I remember.
I remember one, and it's the one that Happer sent. I don't remember any where I was on the show for it.
Okay, Schaefer. Well, we appreciate your coverage down there. Thanks for doing this.
Safe travels.
Have a good time.
You'll need it.
I'll keep you guys updated.
Do you think that they'll send a lemonade guy through the line, and he'll sell $7 lemonades or something?
I think they're having a tough time finding employees as it is at the airport. I don't think there's just going to be a lemonade vendor there.
You could have down like at Haymarket Park, lemonade. Whee!
Do they allow outside? If it stretches outside, do they allow outside vendors? Like when you see those people, you leave a baseball game and they're set up with their coolers of water and they're selling water and peanuts and everything.
Yeah,
maybe they have that here. I'll let you know.
Just
God
pretend
candy.
Just pretend you work at the airport, Shafe. Then you get a special access.
That would be.
I think they make them wear badges, right? I don't think.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
I don't think this media pass is going to get me into anything. in the
Although
airport.
it would be really funny if someone like this is an upcoming YouTube video to YouTube next week. Like someone just says, today I'm going to go to the airport and cut a 4.5 hour line. I'm going to go straight to the front and just see what happens. What do you
I would not. I don't know if that person gets out alive.
I'm not sure.
No,
All right.
no, sir.
All right, Schaefer, safe travels. Thanks.
All right, guys, take care.
Shafe.
That'll do it for us today. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. Crossover with Matt is coming up next.